Chapter 1564 Disseminate God Power. Chapter 1564 Disseminate God Power under Sve. Tom of the Heavenly Craftsman clan was bleeding hard. The veins of his torn arm looked like wiggling worms, which made people numb. Standing on the edge of the volcano's mouth, the flame covered Tom as well. The members of the Heavenly Craftsman clan stood and watched Tom from a distance, feeling quite edgy. They weren't sure if Tom had destroyed the secret formation or not. The giant battleships hovered like a school of savage sharks. The four experts wore a cold, heartless face while the soul altars were emerging. It was someone using a soul technique to maintain some formation to subdue people's souls. The members of the Heavenly Craftsman clan felt a great fear, as if a mountain was placed on their soul, which tied them down to where they were standing. They were sure that the members of the four clans had taken action in the dark. As long as Tom failed or didn't cooperate, what was awaiting them was a bloody and savage end. Obliterating the entire race wasn't just a threat. When the four clans joined hands, they could erase anything they wanted. "Sir, is it okay? Tom, is it okay? We can't afford any mistake." The members of the Heavenly Craftsman clan were hurried, shivering and stammering. Those at the low realms were sweating a lot as they slumped down. They could feel the advent of some bad news, frightened beyond their wits. "Tom, you're a smart guy. I'm sure you won't fail us." Rupert of the Black Demon clan hovered in the sky like an ancient demogorgon. Bands of demon gas shot around him like alarming columns, which made people even more desperate. Should be no problem. The teleport formation down there was broken. Tom's lips were dry. He was fearful as he lifted his head to look at the four territory ancestors. He did it well. Serene Prison of the Soul clan looked handsome, and he was the youngest among the four. However, at this moment, he gave a faint smile for the first time while talking to Rupert. Montesee's soul is still inside the volcano. She couldn't use the formation to escape. The members of the Heavenly Craftsman clan were relieved when they heard Serene Prison's voice, which was like the voice of an angel to them. They felt the pressure disappear as many of them fell to the ground, muttering happily, "Lucky! We're so lucky!" Tom also relaxed. He winced as he held his cut limb and treated the wound as fast as he could. "You were lucky this time." Beverly of the Ancient Monster clan had a snake body. She coldly shouted as if she hated that they couldn't do the slaughter. She had successfully threatened the members of the Heavenly Craftsman clan, who didn't even dare to show their happy faces. "Show yourself, Montesee. I think we can talk." Serene Prison's voice materialized and shot like a lightning strike toward the volcano. "You can't run. For the future of the Phantom clan, I think you should do something." Pausing for a while, he continued, "Didn't you always want to know how we could locate you? Yeah, it's time to tell you the truth." At this moment, Rupert, Edgar, Beverly, and hundreds of Immortal Realm experts of the four clans wore a cold face, quietly waiting for Montesee to show herself. They knew that Montesee couldn't leave through the volcano, and she was left with no choice. They silently watched the mouth of the volcano. The warriors of the Heavenly Craftsman clan looked embarrassed, while the experts of the four clans acted as if they found joy in the other's misery. Some wore a mocking face, while some were eager to try. They all had different countenances. In the dancing flames, Montesee's petite body slowly rose up, steadying on the edge of the volcano. Her clothes looked like rags, her face pale, and eyes dispirited. The most powerful expert of the Phantom clan, the territory ancestor, had emerged in such a pitiful condition. "Madame Montesee, I'm so sorry. For the future of my clan, I didn't have a choice. Sorry." Seeing her, Tom couldn't control his emotions. He didn't care about his cut limb as kneeled on a burning rock and pounded his head on the ground continually. "You're not wrong. If I were you, I would do the same." Montesee sighed, her face tired as she shook her head. Montesi, if you give up on the final battle, I will take my soul and dignity to commit that your phantom clan won't be erased. After pondering briefly, Serene Prison sincerely offered. Serene Prison, Rupert hissed. Don't you know that you have to uproot them? Sneered Edgar. I don't agree. Beverly shouted. The three experts objected to Serene Prison's suggestion. As they saw him commit, they cried to deny. Montesi felt her heart sink when she heard Serene Prison's words. She knew something bad had already happened to the Phantom Clan. Otherwise, Serene Prison wouldn't say so. The Phantom Clan was one of the 7 great clans, and thus she knew a lot of secrets. Even if she died, Cantacea, Fandalay, and Meiji still had the power to protect the Phantom Clan. With the alliance with the Whitebone Clan, they were still strong enough. But why did Serene Prison say that? Except for Zhenru, your sister Cantacea has an agreement with us. Fandalay and she have joined hands to control Meiji to create a chance for Zhenru to kill Shiryen. If nothing unexpected has happened in the Phantom Clan, Cantacea and Fandalay are controlling the Phantom Clan now. Your people have lost the supreme power. Serene Prison pulled an indifferent face, narrating his guess. When the Phantom Clan loses you, how can they resist us? Your naive younger sister thought that after we killed you, we would recognize her position in the Phantom Clan and would spare the Phantom Clan. Her talents and wisdom are far behind yours. We will crush and claim the Phantom Clan's vast territory. We will kill your fellows, including Cantacea and Fandalay. Pausing for a while, Serene Prison checked Montese's face twisting in agony and her shivered body, talking neither slowly nor fast. If nothing unexpected happens, the Phantom Clan would be uprooted within 100 years. Of course, if you kill yourself and save us some god power and efforts, I'm sure I can keep your bloodline alive. Without waiting for Edgar, Beverly, and Rupert to oppose, Serene Prison shouted as he turned to them. I think you all know how fierce Montesea is. If she detonates her soul altar to fight us, are you sure you won't be affected even a bit? Serene Prison shouted to suppress the other 3, making them hesitant. No matter what, Montesea was a second sky of territory ancestor expert, one of the 10 great territory ancestors. She could rewind at least hundreds or thousands of years. The kind of harm she could do to them was something they could never predict. Listening to Serene Prison, the Heavenly Craftsman clan felt like they had just fallen into an icy chamber. Shivers sent down their spines. The Phantom Clan was one of the 7 great clans, but now they had to endure a catastrophe, reaching the edge of destruction. Then, what kind of changes would happen to this vast sea of stars in the near future? Looking at Montesea, they were sorrowful as if they were seeing the Heavenly Craftsman clan's future. So, what do you want? Serene Prison frowned while shouting at the others. Edgar, Beverly, and Rupert exchanged looks. After a while, Rupert said, We will keep 10,000 members of the Phantom Clan Max. Moreover, none of them should have the realm higher than Ethereal God Realm. The 4 clans will surveil them. We must ensure that they don't rise again within the next 100,000 years. So cruel! Tom screamed inwardly as he bewilderedly looked at Montesea. The other 3 wanted to kill the Phantom Clan's hope. They didn't want the clan to grow again for dozens of thousands of years. Montesea felt powerless. She was struggling hard between keeping or destroying her clan. First, you should disseminate your god power, Serene Prison urged indifferently. I want you to pledge, all 4 of you. You have to use your ancestors' names to promise to keep your words. You have to spare lives of our Phantom Clan. Montesea suddenly lifted her head, her resolute and savage eyes gazing at Edgar, Beverly, and Rupert. She couldn't trust these 3. As she was gazing at them, Edgar and the others hesitated for a while before rising their hands to pledge, with Serene Prison taking his pledge the last. Montesea would kill herself to save the Phantom Clan's bloodline, the seeds of their future. "Can you do it now?" smirked Beverly. "Sure can." A forlorn, sorrowful aura emitted from Montesee's petite body. She was the strongest warrior of the Phantom clan, one of the 10 great territory ancestors in this vast sea of stars. Between saving her race and destroying herself, she chose the former. Montesee's little girl appearance grew as she became taller, while her hair grew like wild weeds. Her small body turned into a graceful, adult-sized body, which was so charming to the eyes. It looked like she had grown up within seconds, turning into a magnificent woman whose appearance wasn't less stunning than Meiji. No one was surprised because of her glamour. They all knew that after her god power was disseminated, Montesee could never rewind time again. She wouldn't be able to lock her youth. She would age fast, experiencing all stages of a woman's life. As time went by, she would become a pale skeleton in the end. "After dozens of thousands of time, I can't believe I can see your original beauty again," Serene Prison said with emotion. "Worth the title of the first beautiful lady of this vast sea of stars. Well, too bad that you'll be like a withered flower soon. To me, being able to witness you aging to death is a big joy in my life." Beverly mocked coldly, her face excited. Dozens of thousands of years ago, she and Montesee had debuted almost at the same time. Her monstrous beauty could even move the world, sinking many men. She used to think that she was the most beautiful woman at that time, which had nurtured her arrogance and pride. However, Montesee of the Phantom clan appeared and plucked all the men's eyes away from her. Montesee had a peerless glamour, her innate talents, and the mysterious time power Upanishad. Everything the other possessed had totally overwhelmed Beverly. She had to endure this for tens of thousands of years. Beverly had embraced hatred toward Montesee for thousands of years, and it had never changed a bit. Today, as she could witness Montesee aging and dying, it was the happiest moment of her life. She was even a little impatient to see it. Chapter 1565. Use 1 to resist 10,000. Chapter 1565. Use 1 to resist 10,000. _. Montesee's appearance of a little girl changed just like a flower that had bloomed to the most beautiful moment. Time flew, and the flower withered. Everybody was looking at Montesee at her prime. Her hair cascaded like a long waterfall, reaching her feet. Her exquisite face glowed with a mesmerizing halo like the strongest magnet that attracted people's souls. Her perfect body was a masterpiece of God, which didn't have a single flaw. The men of the Heavenly Craftsman clan, Soul clan, Black Demon clan, Ancient Monster clan, and Devouring clan had their eyes brightened. Many of them had just lived for several thousand years, and they hadn't seen Montesee before. Even if they were lucky enough to see her once, they only saw her childlike appearance. They didn't know the real face of the most beautiful lady in the universe that year, and no one had ever told them that. Today, they finally saw her, the most perfect goddess that had walked out of their dreams. This woman was so stunning that she could move their hearts. They became breathless. Some were even emotional as they didn't want to see Montesee losing her glamour like a shriveled flower. Sigh. Serene Prison stooped, absorbed in his emotions. Only he knew that he had given his heart to her dozens of thousands of years ago. He had chased after her for a long time, making her an untouchable goal of his. If time doesn't cease, no matter how beautiful the flower is, it will die in the end. Gradually, small changes happened to Montesee's creamy skin. It didn't glow anymore. Her cascading hair slowly turned gray and eventually white. The others understood that as Montesee was dispersing her god power, it had deactivated her time power Upanishad. As they were all watching Montesee, Tom was suddenly shaken. He dropped his jaw, turning to watch the extinct volcano. He could feel clearly that the teleport formation in the center of the extinct volcano, which was connected with his body, was sending strange tremors. The teleport formation was mended, connecting to an unknown area. Tom was extremely frightened. He didn't know what was going on down there, his heart filled with great fear. He gawked and panted, wanting to alarm the others, but realizing that he couldn't utter a word. A beautiful figure slowly emerged from that volcano. She was wearing a violet dress with the hem stretched like a beautiful blooming flower on a magnificent purple royal throne. Her gorgeous face wore an arrogant smile. She elegantly stood up and sighed, then talked to Montesi. "Silly little girl, did you really think that they would spare your clan if you killed yourself here?" Her voice had shaken people hard as they suddenly found another person hovering by Montesi. Serene Prison, Beverly, and Rupert changed their faces. When they saw the woman, they felt an unknown fear. It was like instinct on seeing a creature at a higher level. They didn't know the woman who had just arrived. "Who are you?" Beverly asked. All of a sudden, she turned around, looking at Edgar while frowning, who was panic-stricken. "You know her?" Edgar used to come to Desolate Territory, and he knew the arrogant woman sitting on that purple crystal throne. Edgar took a deep breath and then shouted, "What do you want?" "Yuda, it's you." Montesi was shocked, bewilderedly watching Xiao. She was surprised a lot as well. When she was in Desolate Territory, she had met Xiao the first time. When they traveled through the turbulent space basin, they had encountered her again. Montesi knew that the latter was the absolute beginning creature called Hui, but she didn't know that Xiao had occupied Hui. At this moment, she didn't know what to do. "Don't disseminate your god power." Xiao rose one hand, pointing at Montesi. From her slender finger, a beam of purple light shot out. It was crystal clear like jade, but it carried a magical energy from the fountainhead of this world. That energy crossed time and space to enter Montesi, who had been aging all this while. However, at this moment, her eyes brightened as her senile body ceased. Her scattered god power turned into streams, miraculously congregating and rolling into her body. Shortly, she had recovered to her most magnificent stage. However, since she couldn't retrieve all the power, she couldn't turn back to her little girl appearance. She couldn't lock her time at that moment anymore. "Why? Why did you help me?" Feeling the changes in her body, Montesi's beautiful face was baffled. "Aren't you our enemy? When you wanted to take the Power Upanishad symbol tower in the chaotic space basin, I helped Yen to resist you. You why?" The sudden incident had puzzled all the warriors here. The members of the Heavenly Craftsman clan turned baffled, and the warriors of the Soul clan, Black Demon clan, Ancient Monster clan didn't know what to do. Only Edgar knew what had happened, and only he knew that Xiao today was her genuine self. She was the extreme expert that had swallowed even the absolute beginning creature. She's the absolute beginning creature Yuan Zhu had told us about. Edgar finally found his voice. Also, he had explained Montesi's doubt. She's from the same team as Yen. Serene Prison, Rupert, and Beverly changed their countenances. They immediately knew that their situation wasn't good. They couldn't force Montesi to kill herself without a battle anymore. "You and Yen." Montesi coldly looked at Xiao. Xiao smiled like many flowers blooming at the same time, which brightened the dark sky in this area. "Girl, you shouldn't ask much. You just need to know that your Phantom clan is all right. Don't worry. Sure, Yin asked me to come here. Of course. I will make sure you're safe and sound." Then she lifted her head to look at a spot in the sky where a cyan light appeared. That light swelled up shortly, turning into a world with thick heaven and earth energy. 12 snakes, which were her real body, stormed out of that world, filling this void. The extreme, endless pressure expanded, making Edgar, Serene Prison, and the others anxious. Swoosh, swoosh, the 12 snakes separated, each of them seeming like an infinite mountain range. The snakes spat 7-colored lights, which then became the giant dragons attacking the battleships of the 4 clans. Horrible explosions, sounds of energy impact, and dazzling lights shooting everywhere erupted at the same time. Although the battleships of the 4 clans were tens of thousands of meters long, under the divine light attacks, they seemed to be made of thin paper. So vulnerable. The battleships that hadn't had time to activate their shields exploded shortly, sending their fragments everywhere. Inside the mists and smokes after the explosions, pieces of flesh fell, with soul altars floating away. As soon as Xiao emerged, she didn't talk much and just attacked, right in front of the superb experts like Serene Prison, Edgar, Rupert, and Beverly. She directly attacked their troops. Meanwhile, for snakes twisted as they aimed at Serene Prison, Edgar, Rupert, and Beverly, the mysterious patterns on the snake's skin became magnificent halos with the utmost power of heaven and earth, attacking the 4 experts. For the time being, the entire space was filled with lightning strikes and thunderclaps. The 12 snakes had almost packed the whole place. The experts of the 4 clans, including so many powerful warriors, were attacked furiously by Xiao single-handedly. After parting from Shurian, Xiao had become so strong. She was really bold to resist 10,000 experts alone, including the 4 territory ancestors, without receiving any disadvantage. Montesi and the Heavenly Craftsman clan fellows were bewildered, shocked on seeing Xiao taking action. "Get out here." Xiao wore a calm face while screaming indifferently. The host snake opened its mouth, with many people emerging from that deep cave. The leading expert was Xiao Lai, the most famous grandmaster of the Heavenly Craftsman clan. He was their faith and pride. Grandmaster. Great teacher. Great teacher. When the members of the Heavenly Craftsman clan saw Xiao Lai, they screamed as if they were kids who had been bullied and finally saw their guardians. Some of them even started crying out, "Please order, Master." Strangely, as soon as Xiao Lai appeared, he kneeled in the void while asking for an order from Xiao. "Please order, Master." Accompanying him were Jia and I, Tianxia, and many chiefs of the former God clan. "Kill them!" Xiao rose one finger, pointing at the warriors of the 4 clans while smilingly giving her order. "Yes, ma'am." Xiao Lai, Jia and I, and Tianxia weren't hesitant. They turned into bold shooting lights, attacking the 4 clans. As the situation turned chaotic all of a sudden, Montesi was both glad and frightened. At the moment she thought she must die and had even given up, the situation was greatly changed. Xiao's incredible appearance had overturned her fate. Montesi now had a new life, which made her feel that she was just dreaming. "Tom, you idiot! Attack them!" Xiao Lai suddenly screamed. A moment ago, all the members of the Heavenly Craftsman clan were horror-struck, but now, under their Grandmaster's call, they became vigorous, leaping up into the sky and attacking the warriors of the 4 clans. "You think you can overturn the situation alone? Do you think I would just stand and stare?" Yuan Zu's voice arose from the crowd of the ancient monster clan. "Seems like you got a lot of absolute beginning blood crystals to recover a bit, but I think that I alone can subdue you. And who else do you think can stop Serene Prison, Rupert, Edgar, and Beverly?" Xiao beamed faintly, throwing a meaningful look at the extinct volcano. "Yuan Zu is here. Why do you still hide in there? Precursor Yuan Zu, what do you think about me? Can I stop Serene Prison?" Han Tian's loud laughter arose from the volcano. Then he brought Judy, forefather dragon lizard, and the experts of the mysterious Sky Clan out of the volcano. "Precursor Yuan Zu, how about me? Do you think I can beat Rupert up?" Hero's cold and mocking voice came timely as he flew out of the extinct volcano along with Dracula, Gay, and many members of the Whitebone clan. It seemed that there was a space door that had teleported many peerless experts from different areas to this place. Hearing Han Tian and hero, Yuan Zhu, who had just shown himself from the formation of the ancient monster clan, turned dark and sinister. He knew that his plan, the one he had put a lot of efforts in, now had a big flaw. They couldn't control the development of this battle anymore. Chapter 1566, Reverse. Chapter 1566, Reverse, _. Watching the continual flow of warriors gushing out of the extinct volcano, Montesi was dazed and felt like she was dreaming. She remembered clearly that she had seen the teleport formation inside the mountain shatter with her own eyes. At her realm, she couldn't fix that formation. As she couldn't run away, she was in a passive situation where serene prison could subdue her life, forcing her to commit suicide for the future of her clan. However, the familiar characters moving out of the volcano made her dizzy. So, that formation hadn't been destroyed yet? How could it be? She was suspicious, feeling that it was impossible. Since she had lost a large amount of her god power, her soul defense was loosened. Thus, she couldn't believe her own observation. Han Tian, Judy. Beverly was attacked continually by the halos from the black and white patterns on a snake's skin. A water curtain made of seawater gushed about rapidly and exploded, causing her to scream in fright. Hero, Gay, Whitebone clan. Beverly paled when she saw the others flying up from the volcano. Serene Prison, Edgar, and Rupert put on a solemn face, startled by the sudden incident. Yao came and overturned the situation they had tried so hard to arrange. At this moment, when Han Tian and Hero appeared, both sides had the same power. Precursor Yuan Zhu, please deal with her, or else we can't gain the upper hand in this battle. Edgar pulled himself together quickly. He pondered for a while and immediately asked Yuan Zhu to take action. Yao's snakes were a great threat to them. They couldn't spare more efforts to deal with Han Tian and Hero. Yuan Zhu nodded with a cold face. He didn't talk, just walking in the void towards Yao. Slash, slash, slash. Strange water waves appeared in the sky above his feet, immediately congregating into a black sea. Each drop of this sea was too heavy, as it was made of pure soul energy. They could cover the earth and heaven, drowning all the creatures within and shattering their bodies with the sheer pressure. Deep in the layers of waves, Yuan Zhu's human body disappeared and his absolute beginning body became discernible. The water power Upanishad swept over, covering everything as the water rose and expanded rapidly, attacking this world. The battleships of the four clans sank and landed on the erupting volcanoes when the warriors saw the water rising in the sky. Xiao Lai, Jiao Enai, and Tian Xie were fighting against the members of the four clans. After many years, Tian Xie had finally entered the first sky of Territory Ancestor Realm. His competence wasn't weaker than Xiao Lai or Jiao Enai. Each of them had a snake mark on their foreheads. It was the slave mark which connected their soul to Ziyao, allowing her to control them. Kill them. After this battle, the fate of the sea domain of Nihility will change greatly. From now on, our Heavenly Craftsman clan will have a slot in this vast sea of stars. Xiao Lai screamed to support his fellows. He roared, and the flame above his head became a wonder, a fire lotus that occupied around 100 mu. Each petal of this lotus was glowing red like a crystal, with flames dancing around it. The flames on the lotus were as big as a human head, and there were too many of them. They had the soul consciousness to attack the Soul Clan warriors, which were the nearest to them on their own. The Soul Clan warriors cultivated soul power, which was a cold Yin power Upanishad. Thus, they were afraid of the scorching flames. As those flames were attacking them, burning noises appeared in the sea of consciousness of many warriors of the Soul Clan. They paled, hurrying to move away. Xiao Lai laughed crazily, while excitedly releasing the fiery hammer he had refined, attacking around. The members of the Heavenly Craftsman clan saw him furiously attack the others and were stirred up. They grinned while connecting with the volcanoes underneath. Those volcanoes were their furnaces, which had been connected with their minds. As they urged, hundreds of volcanoes erupted at the same time, fuming smoke and fire everywhere. The dragon-like fires from the volcanoes struck at the experts of the 4 clans terrifyingly. Jia and I of the Secret Pattern clan squinted as she was drawing something in the void with her soul energy. With that, several bizarre drawings like ghosts and demons from hell emerged. They were all majestic like the mountains and looked really realistic as they began to attack the enemies. The natural drawings on Jia Ni's body moved, her face seeming strangely sinister. Crack! Crack! An around 10 meters tall demon with a ferocious face grabbed 3 warriors of the Devouring clan and shoved them into its mouth, chewing what could be considered happily. Seeing the green blood trickle down its mouth, the others couldn't help but shiver. Each ghost, demon, or Azura appearing here had a related secret pattern on Jia Ni's body. They could use her power to attack their prey, which created both physical and mental attacks. Tian Xie and the chiefs of the former God clan were attacking with their best abilities. They cooperated well with Zi Yao's bodies, striking the battleships of the 4 clans. The soul altars emerged above the head of the God clan's chiefs and moved as if they could gather the power to attack all together. Shortly after, hundreds of soul altars shot a terrifying light column, which was the God clan's god punishment. That massive light column could pierce through an entire battleship. Who dares to fight with me? Forefather Han Tian of the mysterious Sky Clan looked vigorous, his eyes excited. He stepped out and appeared at the most furious spot of the battle. At this moment, his eyes had 2 worlds of fire in them, with the eternal flames that could burn an entire territory into ashes. Swoosh! 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 Amidst a striking flash, the clothes on his body turned into ashes as the fiery flames burst out all over his body. He turned into a flaming man, his facial features unclear. The air around him exploded due to the terrifying heat, causing many people to be incapable of handling it and making an escape. You crazy man, watch out! Don't burn our fellows! Seeing many members of the Heavenly Craftsman clan running away as they were threatened by the heat waves, Judy scolded Han Tian. Then she walked forward, ordering her subordinates, "Do it now!" Many members of the mysterious Sky Clan yelled as they stormed over. They were like countless caged beasts that had finally gotten rid of their imprisonment to attack the warriors under Serene Prison and Beverly's command. Kill! Hero moved like a sharp sword that could slice everything. He zoomed toward Rupert while talking harshly. I always wanted to battle with you. Today we must do it nicely. The members of the White Bone clan released the Skull Islands, riding them as they joined the battle. The Skull Islands looked like hundreds of dry skulls that were thousands of times bigger than normal, with a thick, cold, and murderous aura. Energy flew like water inside the bone bodies of the mighty White Bone clan warriors. Han Tian and Hero led the warriors of the mysterious Sky Clan and the White Bone clan to attack the warriors of the 4 clans. In this remote volcano cloud sea of the sea domain of nihility that had enjoyed peace for so many years, the first bloody and ruthless battle was carried out. This battle would determine the position of the 7 clans in the future, and it could affect the power arrangement during the next tens of thousands of years. Girl, you should seize the time and recover. I can't stay idle. I have to take action too. Zi Yao's smile ceased as she notified Montesi, and then moved like a rainbow with her purple crystal throne. She landed on the host snake, and the other 11 snakes immediately gathered together, their tails merging with each other. The heavenly snake surfed across the sky, soaring into the void covered by black sea water. She entered deeper into the black sea to find Yuan Zhu. The 2 terrifying creatures that shouldn't exist in this time were confronting in the void of the volcano cloud sea. Amidst the inky black sea, Ziyao's scream rose shrilly. In that instant, billions of light beams bloomed, shining on the place like a firework and making this dangerous star area so stunning. Montesi was the protagonist of this incident, but now she was just a bystander. She stood on the edge of a volcano's mouth and lifted her head to look at the sky and the void-shaking battle. She was startled when she saw the Soul altar explode one by one and the giant battleships shatter. Something's wrong. There shouldn't be only those people. Where are my fellows? Where is Shi Yan? She finally got the situation. Shi Yan must have fixed the teleport formation in the center of the volcano. In this world, only Shi Yan had cultivated the space power Upanishad to the territory ancestor realm. It was surely he who had teleported the great armies of the mysterious Sky Clan and the White Bone Clan here. So where did Shi Yan go? This was the battle that had gathered the strongest forces in this sea of stars, and it could determine the future of many clans. Why didn't Shi Yan join this battle? Montesi was quite bewildered. This doubt existed in Yuan, Zhu, Edgard, Serene Prison, and Beverly's minds as well, so they couldn't focus on their battle. The mysterious Sky Clan and the White Bone Clan were here, which signified the most drastic and bloody battle of this sea of stars. At the critical moment, Shi Yan shouldn't be absent. From Yuan Zhu, people knew how dangerous Shi Yan was. As they didn't see Shi Yan here, it had a cast shadow over their souls. They just couldn't ease their restless minds no matter what. Because Shi Yan was the god of slaughter, the most frantic madman who disregarded rules of heaven and earth. Because of their greed, he had dyed the world with blood. When a man like that burst out, his destructive power could frighten anybody. He had proven this by destroying the ancestral lands of the four clans. An expert that could swagger in this universe and travel between territories with a flicker of his thought was the true nightmare in everybody's mind. He was a great threat to every single one of his enemies. As the god of slaughter hadn't shown himself yet who could ease their minds. Chapter 1567. Raid Huanglong directly. Chapter 1567. Raid Huanglong directly. _ Deep in the sea domain of Nihility, where the Soul Clan members gathered. After this place had borne Shi Yan's destruction, the Soul Clan had rebuilt it slowly, returning it to its former luxury. Cold air rolled above the perpetual mountain ranges, and the spooky, green-colored jack-o'-lanterns hovered in the air. There were fixed departed ghosts everywhere that they used to activate or practice some techniques. The gray clouds in the sky were lowered, casting shadows on the entire place. It would be very difficult to enter the place if the warriors weren't familiar with the Soul Clan's topography. At this moment, most of the members of the Soul Clan cultivating in this place didn't have a high realm. Most of them were at the King God Realm, Original God Realm, and Ethereal God Realm. Still, they had some Immortal Realm experts to guard the base. Between so many mountains ranges was a vast sea with green but murky water, ghost cries audible everywhere. With a closer look, people could see a ghost wiggling on the surface. But soon it was pulled into the sea one more time. Several hundred experts of the Soul Clan at the incipient God Realm and Immortal Realm were scattered around the green sea. The soul altars hovered like the mountains above their heads, which looked dark and were surrounded by so many brutal souls. Hundreds of soul altars were urged, creating the soul power that snatched at the green sea. That green sea constantly released a magical power that stabilized the void. It was invisible to the eyes but rippled, like waves. Just like a massive hand, this sort of energy pressed down and stopped any space formation from being established. During 10,000 years, the sea domain of Nihility had never had an expert at Territory Ancestor Realm who cultivated the space power Upanishad. Because of this reason, the Soul Clan hadn't defended their homeland carefully, which had allowed Shi Yan to tear the space and intrude the center, slaughtering so many experts here. After that bloody catastrophe, Serene Prison had reopened the great space defending formation before he left this time. Moreover, he had ordered his fellows to not relax for even a second. They had to maintain the suppression of that formation on the space around the base and must ensure that no one could use space power Upanishad to enter this area. This time he had deployed many experts and couldn't return in a short while on top of that. To prevent the horrible incident, he had left a wisp of his soul to help his fellows seal the space. On the green sea, the rocky hard space suddenly shook. The members of the Soul Clan releasing their soul altars around the sea felt the tremor instantly. Their faces turned solemn as they adjusted their power to accumulate more God power. Innumerable green air currents shot out of the sea of consciousness of many soul altars, which all poured into the green sea. Flows of soul consciousness collected and poured the God power into that sea as all the experts that were trying to seal the space. They understood that the previous commotion was caused by some supernatural ability of space to make a passage. Someone wanted to intrude into the center of the Soul Clan. They would never allow it. "We've got some intruders. All members pay attention. We must stop them from connecting spaces," said a commander at the peak of a mortal realm. He was riding on a hawk-like, brutal soul, shouting with a gloomy voice to alert all members of the Soul Clan. Many members of the Soul Clan were mobilized to the adjacent areas by the Green Sea. They urged their power to contribute to strengthening the sealing power. Slowly, the abnormal incident in the void ceased. It seemed that the intruders had given up. After 1 hour, the Soul Clan experts exhaled in relief when nothing changed. They thought that the intrusion was over and they didn't need to put in more power. Outside the Soul Clan, a light saber slashed from the thick clouds along with numerous shadows, moving rapidly. Emperor Sea Shark led this group, with Audrey, Minghao, Adele, Xianhe, and Frederick following him. They came from the Cloud Mist territory, bringing several thousand experts who were all experts from the major star areas in Desolate territory. They had followed Shi Yan to this place that year. Shi Yan said that it would be tough to pierce through the defending space and landing at the center of the Soul Clan. After that incident, the Soul Clan has learned their lesson. Minghao stood inside the cloud, his eyes cold and dark. He's connecting to the Phantom Clan and Whitebone Clan and has to create the space passage. So he can't be here. He told us to figure out a way to open a hole and break the sealing formation first. After a period of staying and cultivating in the Cloud Mist territory, together with Emperor Sea Shark's support, Minghao was just one step away from the territory ancestor realm at this moment. He just needed to accumulate more God power and soul power to reach the next realm. Xian, he and Azure Dragon had also reached this bottleneck, seeming to be able to see the territory ancestor realm's threshold. The homelands of the 7 clans are protected with layers of danger. Outsiders must move carefully step by step to get in. It's not an easy task. Emperor Sea Shark looked stern. Shi Yan could get in there easily because of his space supernatural ability. He could move around the barriers and restrictions. Otherwise, even he couldn't have sneaked into their lands that easily. "Do you mean it would be very tough to break the barriers and restrictions outside?" asked Minghao coldly. Emperor Sea Shark nodded. "If we use our force to do that, we will have to pay a bloody price. If you don't believe me, I will try it first. You guys stay here and watch." Emperor Sea Shark didn't wait for Minghao to voice his opinion. He immediately urged his God power, spinning his soul altar. A crystal-clear river shot out of his glabella, containing rocks, mosses, and even small fishes, making it look not much different from a real river. The one standing near him could even smell the steam. Anyway, Minghao and Xian, he knew that the more realistic this little river was, the more powerfully magical it was. Since it was created by his God power and pure soul power, it could promote the genuine power of nature, which was unimaginably strong. They focused on that river, watching it pierce through layers of clouds and directly hit the defending barrier. Sizzle, sizzle. All of a sudden, billions of ghosts and departed souls screeched and shrieked from inside the thick clusters of clouds, their aura being spooky and glum. Just like the terrifying soul attacks, the little streams were torn apart into so many drops of water, vanishing in the air. Emperor Sea Shark backed off as if he just got a hard hit on his chest. He staggered backward, his face frightened. The power of this barrier is so fierce that I almost got hurt. Damn it, it's much more powerful than I thought. He had the strongest realm in this group, and Ming, Hao, and Xian, he knew how bold he was. Even he got hurt using his energy to attack the barrier, so who else could break that barrier? It seemed that they would fail Shi Yan's expectation. It's really tough, Adele shook her head, talking reluctantly. Seems like we can't rush. We must be careful. I think we should just slowly wear it out. We shouldn't force it too much. Hey, girl, what are you doing? She screamed before she could finish her sentence, then rolled her eyes at Audrey while yelling, "Come back here! Right now!" As people were surprised, Audrey had turned into a gloomy shadow, flying toward the barrier of the Soul Clan even though it had just hurt Emperor Sea Shark. Emperor Sea Shark gawked while rubbing his forehead. "Didn't she hear me?" he asked in surprise. Ming Hao didn't know what to say. "Members of the Imperial Dark Tribe, follow me. Remember to use the techniques I've taught you lately." Suddenly, Audrey turned to her mother and Ming Hao and spoke. "Those secret techniques come from the scriptures of the Soul Clan. Our Imperial Dark Tribe and the Soul Clan are somehow similar. As long as you use those techniques to control your power, the barriers wouldn't attack us." Then, her beautiful body thrust deep into the clouds. Magically, the barrier that had reacted furiously to Emperor Sea Shark's exploration didn't do anything to her. She got through the defending barrier easily. Everybody was bewildered for a short moment when they saw her get into the land of the Soul Clan, but they came back to their senses and reacted quickly. They turned to observe the Imperial Dark Tribe members, Ming Hao and Adele, a group of lanky warriors. "She's right. None of us is more familiar with the Soul Clan than her. She got Neptune's soul refining cauldron and sings brutal souls. She knows all things about the Soul Clan, including these barriers and restrictions." Ming Hao looked pensive, then smiled and nodded at Adele. Just like a ghost, he followed her and pierced through the barriers of the Soul Clan. He successfully got through the life-taking barriers, which were all ineffective on him. He had used his action to prove Audrey's presumption. Adele's eyes brightened, and she immediately ordered her clansmen, "All fellows who cultivate the secret techniques, let's use them to get inside." Many warriors of the Imperial Dark Tribe screamed, using their actions to respond to Adele's order as they turned into dim shadows like ghosts and got through the cloudy barriers. They disappeared one after another, and no one got hit. Piercing through the barrier, Audrey arrived in the Soul Clan's ancestral land, which was even bigger than several planets. Deep inside the clouds were mountain ranges, and everything else one could find on an ordinary planet. The Soul Clan warriors were seen moving and working wherever one's sight went. Audrey soon found the Green Sea and the numerous experts surrounding it. She saw strange energy arising from the sea to strengthen this independent space. This sort of energy served to protect the place and prevent any space energy from attacking. She knew what they were doing, and also why Shi Yan didn't use his old trick of using space energy to make a passage leading directly to the Soul Clan center. "Get out here." Seeing Ming Hao, her mother, and fellows arrive, Audrey wore a calm face, her eyes shining brightly. The soul refining cauldron, an absolute beginning divine weapon, emerged above her head like a sinister mountain. The tadpole symbols on it were moving slowly while brutal souls soared up from the massive cauldron, hissing and crying inaudibly. The soul refining cauldron. It's the soul refining cauldron. Members of the Soul Clan lifted their heads to watch, and couldn't help but scream in fright, their countenances turning pale. They all knew that the soul refining cauldron didn't belong to Neptune anymore. Someone had snatched it. Moreover, they had recognized that the enemies had actually intruded their land, unlike what they had thought just now. Chapter 1568 The Gate of Plundering. Chapter 1568 The Gate of Plundering, Phantom Clan. Several thousand war chariots, like a cloud of locusts, hovered in the sky. They were platinum with Sharp's tip, like a drilling machine. All of them looked like big boats carrying tens to hundreds of warriors. This kind of platinum war chariot was much smaller than battleships, but they were significantly faster and stronger as they could pierce even through spaces. A part of the warriors on those war chariots was from the Phantom Clan, and the others were from the forces and clans that depended on the Phantom Clan. All of them had high realms, and this force comprised 70 or 80,000 of them. The lowest realm warriors were at King God Realm, Original God Realm, Ethereal God Realm, and Incipient God Realm were everywhere. There was a large number of Immortal Realm warriors too. They were the real force of the Phantom Clan. On a war chariot, many elders of the Phantom Clan gathered by Meiji. Wearing a stern face, they looked at Shi Yan. They were the experts at Immortal Realm, and 2 of them were at peak of Immortal Realm. They had mastered principle of soul energy. Thus, they were close to the territory ancestor realm's threshold. Previously, they were in charge of the Phantom Clan's territories. Because of the terrifying incident in the clan, Meiji had summoned them. "Are you sure Granny is okay?" Ling Lu looked skeptical. If you got accurate information, Cantacy and Fandalay must have disclosed her whereabouts. Serene Prison wouldn't have given her a chance. In this group, Ling Lu was one of Meiji's seniors. Time didn't leave a mark on her face, as she looked like a beautiful woman in her 30s. Her figure was extremely hot with curves. In the Phantom Clan, she was famous for her lewd behaviors as a cougar. "She will be all right. Shi Yan said that Han Tian, Judy, and Hero have come there. I'm sure that they can save her," explained Meiji. At this moment, she had recovered her power and her charming appearance. Since Cantacy and Fandalay had run away, Meiji couldn't dodge her responsibility. She was now the supreme leader of the Phantom Clan, in charge of planning for combat. However, her fellows didn't trust her wholeheartedly. Ling Lu was one of that skeptical group. "You've trusted him that much?" Actually, Ling Lu didn't have a grudge against Meiji. She just worried about the clan. She didn't pretend to be polite and just snorted, even though Shi Yan was right there. If it hadn't been because of him, Cantacy and Fandalay wouldn't have betrayed our clan, and our granny wouldn't have been a deadly situation. And now, she's in danger, but we aren't going there to save her ourselves. You want to keep us here for what? As Ling Lu and her warriors had hurried to come back to the clan when their ancestral land was in chaos, they vaguely guessed that Montacy was in a dangerous situation. She hoped that she could go and rescue Montacy, resisting the 4 clans with her. However, Meiji stopped them and asked them to prepare for the deployment. She didn't allow them to leave immediately. She asked them to wait here. Ling Lu had been waiting here for a long time, and Meiji continued to ask them to wait. Eventually, she lost her patience, so her voice to Shi Yan was sharp. Meiji was begrudging. She had to ask Shi Yan, "How is it?" Shi Yan stood in a corner of the war chariot. Space energy rippled from his body visibly as he lifted his head to look at the void where sharp space sabers moving around and bumping into each other. They were trying to open a space passage. The Soul Clan is vigilant now. They've improved on their sealing space formation. I can't create a passage from a far distance like this. Shi Yan's face darkened and he turned to Ling Lu's group. "We're not going to where Montacy and the others are fighting. We will unite with the White Bone Clan and intrude the Soul Clan's headquarters." "What right do you have to make solutions for our clan?" snorted Ling Lu. Shi Yen frowned and felt agitated because of this restless woman. He waved his hand and said, "You know how far we are from the volcano cloud sea. If you want to ride the war chariot there, you will have to spend 6 months. And what can you do when you get there after 6 months? If you're worried, you can leave with your people." "I don't give a damn about it. Didn't you say that you could get through spaces to reach the Soul Clan? Why won't you take us to Volcano Cloud Sea?" Ling Lu sounded impatient. "Don't make so much noise." Aunt Fong, who was in charge of medicine storage, came to ease the others when she saw Shi Yen change his visage. "Shi Yen helped us save this place. He means no harm to our clan. Ling Lu, you calm down. Don't rush. Just wait here." She had witnessed Shi Yan's terrifying competence. Let alone the Phantom Clan had only made Ji here. Even if Cantacy and Fandalay were here, who could resist Shi Yan when he turned frantic? Ling Lu? She was too weak compared to him. Warriors of Cloud Mist territory were sent to the Soul Clan. We will wait here. Once they break the space sealing power there, I can make the passage to take you guys and the White Bone Clan warriors to the Soul Clan. Shi Yan squinted and coldly glared at Ling Lu. "You should behave. Han Tian and Judy have spent a lot of efforts, but they couldn't get into the headquarters of the 4 clans. I'm doing good things for your Phantom Clan. You're really stupid to not appreciate my work." "Who did you say is stupid?" Ling Lu turned purple in rage. The gravity around suddenly rocketed because of her anger and suffocated people. She was one of the warriors who came here last, so she didn't know the previous commotion. She didn't know how strong Shi Yen was. There were a lot of people who had kept their suspicious eyes on Shi Yen like her. They thought that Shi Yen had deceived Meiji to seize the power of the Phantom Clan. They thought he would harm their clan eventually. "You're so annoying. Shut up." Shi Yen looked impatient. He raised one hand toward Ling Lu's direction. The sealing spirit expanded and covered Ling Lu, her subordinates, and all of her battleships and war chariots. Ling Lu's group screamed ear-piercingly as they tried to counterattack. However, their area suddenly became an independent space like a massive bubble that covered them all. No matter how hard they tried, and no matter how intensely Ling Lu increased gravity, the massive bubble stayed still. The members of the Phantom Clan who had come late were like Ling Lu as they were discontent when Shi Yen made the decisions as if he was the master here. They wanted to show Shi Yen how powerful they were. However, when they saw Ling Lu, the strongest expert in their team, confined powerlessly, they were shaken. Eventually, they had to quiet down. Aunt Fong looked at them and mumbled, I told you not to provoke him. You didn't listen to me. Now you will." The warriors standing near her looked embarrassed. The Soul Clan, Ancient Monster Clan, and Black Demon Clan are the strongest clans in this sea of stars. They have accumulated a lot of assets throughout so many years from many territories they've conquered. They have occupied half of the treasures in this world. At this moment, Serene Prison, Rupert, and Beverly have brought the elite force of their clan away. Their ancestral lands are almost defenseless. Once they are under attack, the earth and heaven treasures they have will belong to someone else. Listening to Shi Yen, everyone in the Phantom Clan, including Aunt Fong and Ling Lu, in confinement brightened. They looked thrilled, though. They had never thought that this villain wanted to seize the chance to make the Phantom Clan rich. They could slaughter and rob cultivating materials, treasures, and pellets that the 4 clans had laboriously accumulated for hundreds of thousands of years. Those resources were the key elements to guaranteeing a clan's prosperity. A small clan would become powerful with them. If a clan like the Heavenly Eye Clan had the materials from one of the 4 clans, after tens of thousands of years, they would become one of the strongest clans in this sea of stars. Let alone the Phantom Clan, a powerful clan. The Phantom Clan fellows had magical light in their eyes, and they showed their crazy, greedy faces. Shi Yen snorted, his face cold. "And now you are excited. The wealth of the 4 clans isn't something that your Phantom Clan can swallow alone. I have an agreement with the mysterious Sky Clan and the Whitebone Clan on how to distribute those assets and the territories later. You guys can have part of it. Of course, if you join the operation directly, you will be able to choose first. The members of the Phantom Clan had their eyes go bright. Ling Lu didn't say more, as she was busy making a plan in her head to get the greatest benefits. When can we get in there? Aunt Fong looked eager. Just wait. I think it'll be done soon. I believe that they can break the ceiling formation soon, said Shi Yan confidently. Everybody became patient and waited around Shi Yan and Meiji. After a while, the void in front of Shi Yan emitted strange, dazzling light. Bands of bright light began to merge with each other fiercely. Shi Yan's eyes brightened as he screamed. It worked! Layers of space energy rippled and congregated at the pool of dazzling lightsabers. It seemed like there was a pair of hands that twisted and squeezed those lightsabers to create a spacious passage. A space passage that led to the Soul Clan was formed. Space energy gathered and formed the passage. As the members of the Phantom Clan were observing eagerly, Shi Yan grinned and nodded to them. Done. Then he flew to the passage and disappeared after a flash. All members of the Phantom Clan and the forces dependent on the Phantom Clan jumped in joy. They massively swarmed toward that space passage. Right after that, Shi Yan crossed the space and appeared in the Whitebone Clan's territory. He said to the little skeleton's mother, who was called Amar, "Our time comes. How have you prepped?" Amar didn't follow Dracula to the volcano cloud sea. Seeing Shi Yan, she was glad. All done. Good then. I'm here to open the space passage. We will enter the Soul Clan together. From the Soul Clan, we will damage the 4 clans from the inside, Shi Yan said with a smile. The members of the Whitebone Clan cheered in their ancient language as they were riding the Skull Islands. They were all excited, yelling and screaming. In their loud cheering, another space passage was created by Shi Yan's space energy. Chapter 1569. Vie for the Territory Souls. Chapter 1569. Vie for the Territory Souls under Sir. Soul Clan's territory. A bright passage that was like a bridge to heaven crossed the sky and ran directly to the green sea of the Soul Clan. The soul refining cauldron hovered like a massive mountain and released terrifying soul energy. Countless brutal souls screamed and flew out of the cauldron, chasing and killing the Soul Clan experts by the green sea. Audrey put on a cold face and urged her power. She attacked the others together with Ming Hao, Adele, and Imperial Dark Tribe warriors. The Soul Clan warriors had to retrieve their soul altars to counter Audrey's team, which loosened their ceiling formation. When they recognized the changed situation, it was too late. They all looked petrified when a space passage emerged in the sky. Right after that, they saw Meiji lead the Phantom Clan riding the Platinum war chariots. They swarmed in like a cloud of grasshoppers. While they were desperate, another space passage appeared. Skull Islands flew out and carried so many warriors of the Whitebone Clan. Without Serene Prison to guard the place and the presence of the elite force of the Soul Clan, they didn't have the power to resist 3 intruding forces. Shi Yan appeared after a flash. Standing by Amar, he saw the Phantom Clan, Whitebone Clan, and the warriors from Cloud Mist territory slaughter the land. He knew creature here would have to endure a bloody catastrophe. The Soul Clan's foundation was going to be destroyed shortly. Territory souls. Audrey suddenly screamed. She hurried to retrieve her soul refining cauldron. Under the protection of the 7 brutal souls, she flew toward a mountain range far away. Deep in that mountain range emitted an evil and cold aura that proved that it was the prison confining some terrifyingly evil souls. The territory souls were the top treasure that the Soul Clan had refined with secret techniques. Those souls could enhance the warriors greatly. One territory soul could help a third sky of immortal realm expert reach territory ancestor realm shortly. Audrey had tamed Singh's brutal souls and the soul refining cauldron. Afterward, she knew how precious the territory souls were. Feeling that evil aura, she hurried to come and harvest the treasures. Sure, Yen was surprised when she left hurriedly. He squinted to sense. He found 3 formidable souls hidden in that mountain range. He was surprised that they could gather and refine pure soul energy. Although they were at the territory ancestor realm, those souls didn't have a clear consciousness, which made them vulnerable and easy to be absorbed. The energy of those 3 souls wasn't less than the warriors like Farrell. They were even purer. He believed that after Audrey took the 3 territory souls, she could break through to the territory ancestor realm fast. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Several silhouettes moved agilely behind Audrey and headed to the mountain range that confined the territory soul. Mei Ji, Ling Lu, Amar, and the little skeleton of the Whitebone clan were going there. They were at the high echelon of the Phantom clan and the Whitebone clan. They all knew how valuable the territory souls were. If Ling Lu absorbed a territory soul, she could reach the territory ancestor realm soon. Similarly, the experts of the Whitebone clan could absorb the territory soul to reach the territory ancestor realm. The territory souls were more precious than the immortal realm. In this vast sea of stars, only the Soul clan knew how to create territory souls. To breed a territory soul, it required countless materials. Beside many brutal souls to support, the experts needed to erase the territory soul original consciousness. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Shadows gathered by the 3 brown peaks, which were several thousand meters high. The mountain flanks fumed black smokes and mist that hid the wailing ghosts and crying souls. They were food or some sort of materials to breed the territory souls by giving them energy continuously. Audrey, Mei Ji, Ling Lu, and Amar arrived. Except for the 3 brown mountains, there were more natural mountains and rivers in the area that were the storages where the Soul clan kept cultivating materials, including divine crystals, precious gemstones, pellets, weapons, armors, and many strange and rare items that the Soul clan had plundered and accumulated for years. As Amar came, her eyes brightened. She said lovingly, "Honey, you need a territory soul. It can help you enter the territory ancestor realm." The little skeleton nodded excitedly. "I need 1 territory soul to reach the territory ancestor realm." Ling Lu was also stirred up, and she turned to Mei Ji. "If you help me take 1 territory soul, even if you want the chief position, I will do my best to help you." Audrey, who was about to collect the souls, changed her face when she saw Mei Ji and Amar. She looked enraged too. Shortly, Ming Hao, Adele, and the Imperial Dark Tribe warriors gathered when they noticed the commotion. "What's going on?" Ming Hao was skeptical. The territory souls can help the experts at Third Sky of Immortal Realm break through to Territory Ancestor Realm. This place has 3 territory souls, explained Meiji. Ming Hao and Adele's eyes brightened. Immediately, they went to Audrey's side and tried to vie for the territory souls. Sure, Yen was watching from a distance, seeing the internal war about to come. Reluctantly, he had to fly toward them. Pitching his voice, he said, "There are 3 territory souls. Our Cloud Mist territory will take 1. 1 for the Phantom clan and 1 for the Whitebone clan. Let's do that soon. Otherwise, when the MK knows, I'm afraid they will come and vie for 1 too. I have no idea. I've reached the territory ancestor realm. I just want 1 for my baby." Amar pointed at the little skeleton. "Just do that then," Meiji agreed. "Sure, Yen." Ming Hao hissed. "If we get 3 territory souls, we will have 3 more territory ancestors." He had recently considered himself Sure Yan's subordinate. Knowing the power of the territory souls, he couldn't help but vie for them. I don't need it. I can reach the territory ancestor realm soon. However, it's not easy for Xian, he, and Frederick. If we have the territory souls, it will be much easier. Why do you have to do that? Ling Lu screamed. We even gave you cloud mist territory. What else do you want? Don't be so greedy. Seeing Ming Hao ask for more territory soul, she was outraged. She wanted to battle Ming Hao immediately. Shi Yan, my child needs a territory soul. I'm begging you, said Amar. They all looked at Shi Yan because they knew that his opinion mattered. Because of his power, they came to this area. I said that each party shall take a territory soul. Just do it that way. Sure, Yan pondered and then said to Ming Hao, Don't worry. I'm sure that Xian, he, and Frederick will have a chance to break through soon. As I am here, of course, the fellows who have escaped from desolate territory with me won't be mistreated. Ming Hao contemplated, and he knew that it would make the Whitebone clan and the Phantom clan turn their backs to them if he was too stubborn. He agreed eventually. As the Whitebone clan and the Phantom clan are from the 7 great clans, you've accumulated a lot of goods and materials for thousands of years. We're different. We didn't have many assets when we came here from desolate territory. Thus, I hope you guys will let us choose more cultivating materials from those storages. Shi Yan turned to talk to Meiji and Amar. Of course, Amar beamed. I just need a territory soul. I don't care about other things. I think Meiji is on your side. Thus, it won't be a big problem, Ling Lu said with a smile. If you say so, can I not agree? Meiji forced a smile as Shi Yan was watching her. Okay, let's share it like that. Each of us takes a territory soul. My people will choose the resources inside those mountain ranges first. We will take a little more, Shi Yan grinned. I'm going to break the barriers outside first to let Emperor C. Shark's team enter. Otherwise, they will have to stay out there, said Audrey. She was holding the soul refining cauldron. Although it was the first time she came to the Soul Clan, she knew many of their secrets. She turned into a flow of dark air and entered a massive mountain range far from them. Shortly after, the mountains over there began to roar. As soon as the roaring arose, dozens of peaks around shook hard and shot tens of thousands of secret seals and symbols to the sky. A faint light pierced through the thick layer of clouds and covered the entire Soul Clan's territory. Many ghosts, killing spirits, and bodies fell from the sky as those mountains were sucking them in. Shortly after, Emperor Sea Shark's laughter came from the sky. Many warriors from desolate territory landed excitedly. There were Feng Han of Fighting League, Ling Xian, Azure Dragon de Carlos, Sha Zhao of the Gu God sect, and more. They had been waiting outside for a long time. This way. Ha ha ha. Xian, he laughed and turned into a blood-light beam. He zoomed toward Audrey and Adele fast. Emperor Sea Shark also took Shinrin and his subordinates, flying to them. I can't believe we can enter the treasuries today. When Neptune chased after me that year, I had left to go to see Domain of Nihility, and I thought that I would never be able to return. Emperor Sea Shark sighed emotionally when he observed the mountain ranges underneath. He knew what he got today couldn't be separated from Shi Yan's favor. I have never thought that I could show my talents one day in this sea domain of nihility. Previously, we were just frogs under the coconut shell. We thought that desolate territory was an endless universe. And now we know it's right to leave desolate territory. Otherwise, we could have been reduced to ashes now. Gu Te of the brutal dragon tribe landed with Bath. Looking at the experts underneath, they sighed emotionally. Dig those mountains, Emperor Sea Shark suggested. Shi Yan gave him a faint smile, nodded. Massive sabers were conjured and slashed the mountains. The rock cracked easily as if they were peeled off. Shi Yan controlled the sabers precisely to cut the rocky flanks of the mountains. Soon, the dazzling lights radiated from a mountain. So many crystals and gemstones with amazing energies of different attributes were revealed. They saw so many massive cauldrons inside a mountain. Many among the countless number of cauldrons over there had created independent spaces. Some transparent cauldrons contained tens of thousands of smaller pellet bottles with name tags and descriptions. Sher Yen continued to slash open the mountains. More and more treasures were exposed. Cultivating materials piled up and filled the mountains. Exquisite, blinding bright sets of armors were arranged neatly. Books and scriptures in different languages were stashed with original books of magical power, Upanishads, inheritances. They even saw the star nuclei and spirit trees that had almost gone extinct. They were breathless, their eyes bulging and their faces hot with greed. We're going to be super rich. Haha. The Soul Clan is too fierce. The number of precious treasures they've collected can reach an astronomical figure. These things are enough to make a small clan grow fast within tens of thousands of years. If Serene Prison knew we were here, I think his soul altar will explode in his extreme anger. After a while, they laughed crazily and plunged to the exposed treasuries like a pack of hungry wolves. Chapter 1570. Riot the Sea of Stars. Chapter 1570. Riot the Sea of Stars, Empty land. Inside the misty cities, many warriors were working and moving around. People in this land got news about the war between the 7 clans from many channels. The experts on Empty Land couldn't stay idle. They gathered and discussed. Empty Land was one of the biggest gathering points of the big races in Sea Domain of Nihility. It was much more important and attractive than the Sea of Annihilation. Only the powerful forces could set up bases here. The clans like Dragon Lizard Clan and Earth Ghoul Tribe weren't qualified to live on Empty Land. Except for the 7 clan cities on this land. Only the races ranked right after the 7 clans like Secret Pattern Tribe and Heavenly Craftsman Clan could live on Empty Land. Inside a city built of red bronze, many members of Secret Pattern Tribe were gathering and discussing. I heard that the 7 clans are fighting furiously in Volcano Cloud Sea. The experts of the 10 territory ancestors are there too. It seems like this universe is about to turn chaotic. Yeah, I think our chance is coming. Guys, tell your fellows to prepare. We should seize the chance when the 7 clans fight each other to get benefits that we didn't have a chance to touch. Right. We shouldn't miss this rare chance that happens once in a blue moon. The same orders were given from different secret chambers in many cities. Experts from different forces on Empty Land were planning for the rise of their races. However, they didn't notice something happening in the sky above Empty Land. Countless black clouds suddenly covered the sky with an evil aura as if they were the den of some gruesome creature. As the black clouds stretched, the light in Empty Land skies was swallowed. The warriors immediately found their world, which was always bright, slowly dim. Right after that, some noticed the sky and the changes hidden deep within. The profound realm experts tried to sense. They felt an evil soul emitting extremely formidable life energy. What's that? Does an evil aura come from the sky? Something is coming? It's getting darker. My soul feels extremely restless. From the cities underneath, warriors of different clans walked out and watched the sky. There were tens of thousands of them. Most of them were at Incipient God Realm, Immortal God Realm, and several Territory Ancestor Realm. The cold and sinister aura pressed from the sky. 9 black abysses emerged like open mouths of devils. They slowly lowered. The abysses looked like they were made of black ink and released a terrifyingly cold and malicious aura that ran directly into people's sea of consciousness. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A terrifying devouring power came from each of those abysses. Many warriors were sucked and pulled up into the sky. They screamed in panic. Oh my gosh! It's the devouring power Upanishad of the devouring clan. The devouring black hole. It's the ultimate lost supernatural ability. Oh, dear, Devour is coming here himself. Is it crazy? Why is it attacks us? The warriors from Empty Land were horror-struck. They screamed and tried to run away. However, under the destructive power of the black holes, their soul altars were trapped. Once they urged their power Upanishads, negative emotions churned in their hearts and drove them insane. Shortly after, as the negative energy filled the place, 90% of warriors in empty cities were affected and their eyes got red. They fall into bedevilment. They began to assault the warriors next to them. Riskily, they were consuming their energy and using their best powers to kill the others. If Shi Yan was here, he would know that it was the effect of the blood-soul-sea ability of the Death Power Upanishad at its finest. The empty cities fell into chaos. All warriors of empty cities got their killing desires aroused. They didn't have sound minds anymore. They only wanted to kill. Empty cities turned into a purgatory. People died every second and their soul altars exploded. 9 dark abysses hovered in the skies like massive vortexes that could swallow the entire world. They sucked vitality, god power, and soul altars of the warriors underneath. Among the absolute beginning creatures, only Devour could increase his energy and recover his wounds by killing the other smaller races. It was similar to ordinary warriors. They couldn't kill the enemies to absorb energy, but they could use pellets or special crystals to recover. At Ziyao or Yuan Zu's level, if they wanted to recover their wounds or refill energy, they needed special crystals like Absolute Beginning Blood Crystal. Because they didn't cultivate Devouring Power Upanishad. Devour was different. It was the only absolute beginning creature that could recover the consumed energy by killing other creatures. After returning to the Devouring Clan's territory, it had killed so many High Realm experts. It could do that at a speed that people could notice to recover slowly. When the war between the 7 clans burst out, it finally recognized that the most dreadful war of this time was coming, which could end the current era. Since most of the 10 great territory ancestors were in Volcano Cloud Sea now, Devour couldn't control its greed anymore. Empty Land was its first stop. It was the first stop to recover its energy. The dark abysses continued to urge energy. The empty land sank in mysteries and deaths as the warriors killed each other. People died continuously. Devour hid in the center of the 9 abysses and used its malicious power Upanishad to swallow this world and slaughter creatures on empty land, making them part of its nutrition. In this era, the ones that could threaten Devour were only experts like the 10 great territory ancestors. As Empty Land didn't have such powerful experts, the warriors that had just entered Territory Ancestor Realm had become excellent tonics to Devour. They couldn't stop its genocide. Soul Clan. The experts of the Phantom Clan, Whitebone Clan, and the Cloud Mist Territory were cheering loudly as they plunged to the mountains of treasures. Colorful cultivating materials in the mountain made them crazy. They were cheering and congratulating each other as they were searching for suitable pellets and treasures to increase their power. Sure, Yin calmly hovered in the sky and watched the others screaming in joy. After a long time, he found that most of the Soul Clan warriors in this place were killed and his devouring black holes had gathered a large amount of energy. He nodded inwardly. He had reached second sky of Territory Ancestor Realm in the Phantom Clan. At this moment, his territory began to have creatures that he had created. This time his breakthrough sublimated his power Upanishads wholly, his soul pond expanding. At this moment, he was confident that he could counter any expert in this world. Even if Desolate were here, Shi Yan believed that he would have the power to fight. He believed that he could trouble Yuan hard even without Desolate's energy. He had a vague feeling that the memory and the knowledge of his co-soul, which were made of the origins of Grace, Mainland, and God-blessed Mainland, were reviving. As long as his realm progressed, he could gather that great knowledge and make it his magical accumulation and foundation to advance his power. He had a premonition that he could fuse the host soul and co-soul together with the premise that he could reach a height to merge the co-soul. His co-soul came from two of Desolate's soul clones. Desolate used to be at the peak of territory ancestor realm. If his host soul reached that level or very close to that level, the two independent souls would have a chance to become one and be his whole new soul. Thus, he needed to continuously accumulate energy and knowledge. His energy accumulation required the deaths of so many creatures. At this moment, the universe was having a great change. All the big races were mobilizing their forces to join the last battle. His desire for energy guided him to come to the center of each war and try to collect more energy. He needed to fill his God power ancient tree to reach the upper limit to break through to third sky of territory ancestor realm. It's not enough. Without Serene Prison and the Soul Clan's elite forces, the energy collected isn't enough. After retrieving the devouring black holes, he checked the energy he had just harvested. It was like a grain of salt in the sea. It wasn't as much as the last time he came. We are in a hurry. We can't stay here to waste more time. 1 second spent consumes part of the energy. Pondering for a while, he set his direction. Squinting to adjust his power Upanishad and using space energy as the main source, he created 2 space passages, leading to the Ancient Monster Clan and Black Demon Clan. After the 2 passages appeared, he let out a low shout to attract the others, and then said, "The Ancient Monster Clan and Black Demon Clan have the same method to strengthen the spaces around. Thus, I can only take you to the area outside their territories. Whether we can break the barriers there or not, it depends on you guys." "Where are you going?" asked Meiji. "I want to go to the Volcano Cloud Sea. It's where the battle is most furious." Shi Yan's eyes were bright as he added, "We don't need to go to Devouring Clan. Devour is there. Even if I go, we can't harvest that much under its watch. If you go there, you guys will be swallowed." "Should we go to Volcano Cloud Sea too?" asked Ling Lu. "No need. It would be more effective if you stirred up the centers of the 3 clans. It's better than coming to Volcano Cloud Sea." Shi Yan shook his head. Then he stopped talking and sent soul messages to Ming Hao, Emperor Sea Shark, and Xian he to ask them to notice something. Afterward, he tore a light door and disappeared in people's surprised gaze. Chapter 1571, Brutal Battlefield. Chapter 1571, Brutal Battlefield _ Volcano Cloud Sea. Broken battleships, pieces of armor, weapons, corpses, and rocks filled the void. Dazzling halos covered so many different colored soul altars. Icy crystals and lava ponds and hovered around. Rare divine weapons soared like flying dragons. Battleships shot blinding light columns. So many territories that looked realistic emerged and created so many illusions. This place had become the most dreadful meat-grinding field in this vast sea of stars. Corpses and broken limbs were everywhere. The soul altars collapsed massively. The battle between the Soul Clan, Devouring Clan, Black Demon Clan, Ancient Monster Clan, and Mysterious Sky Clan, Whitebone Clan, Ziyao subordinates, and Heavenly Craftsman Clan was going on. Deep in the void, Yuanzu's real body was fighting Ziyao's snake body furiously in the surging Black Sea. The shockwaves from their combat seemed to tear the sea domain of nihility as they could shatter the planets billions of miles away. Whenever the shock waves reached a territory entrance, the natural territory behind the entrance received a deadly calamity. Many clans living on the life stars were erased. Amongst the 10 great territory ancestors, Serene Prison, Han Tian, Rupert, Beverly, Edgar, Montesi, and Hero were here. In addition to Yuan Zhu, 8 of them were present on this battlefield. They didn't come to discuss the way to the absolute beginning gateway, but killing each other. They were fighting for something unclear with their best forces. This battle had darkened the entire place. Suns and moons weren't shining. The galaxy was torn apart and the universe collapsed. Billions of years ago, the absolute beginning era had ended because of a battle, which had swept all absolute beginning creatures away. Today, it was a battle where members of the 7 clans that gathered participated. All the famous experts in this vast sea of stars were here. The sea domain of nihility seemed to not be able to endure their battle for a long time. The volcano cloud sea was gone. At this moment, it looked like ruins in a post-apocalypse scene. Volcanoes jutted from the ground and became keen weapons in the hands of the Heavenly Craftsman clan. The volcano that held the teleport formation became Tom's weapon. It was burning furiously as he was using his fire power Upanishad to attack the Soul Clan warriors closest to him. While fighting, Tom frowned at the massive volcano he was pulling. Waves of space energy came from that mountain. He immediately knew that the formation in the middle of the volcano was reactivated. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. As the flames sparked around, a majestic body appeared on the mouth of the volcano and grinned. His hands pulled something, and the void in front of him shattered. Shattering together with that void were bodies and souls of several hundred Soul Clan warriors. They didn't have any means to counterattack. The incipient God Realm experts became a paste of smashed flesh. Their soul altars were sucked into a black spot in the glabella of the young man who had just appeared. Tom didn't know who he was. From that young man, he could feel a terrifying aura of the beasts in chaotic times. That aura bulged the veins on his temples. It was an instinct fear arising deep in his soul. You. Who are you? Tom's scream sank in the furious battle. No one noticed his voice. He continuously moved backward and cut off the connection with the volcano. Don't be tense. I'm on your side. Shi Yen smiled as he was surprised. Then he observed to assess the situation. Han Tian, Judy, Montesi, Hero, and Dracula were at second sky of Territory Ancestor Realm, and they were battling Serene Prison, Edgar, Beverly, and Rupert, respectively. Although they were all at second sky of Territory Ancestor Realm, their competences were different. Han Tian faced Serene Prison, and Hero faced Rupert. They were fighting equally. However, Judy and Dracula had to join hands to deal with Edgar, because Judy wasn't one of the 10 great territory ancestors. Dracula, the expert from previous generations, had just woken up for a short time, but he hadn't recovered his power yet. Montesi was fighting against Beverly, and she was significantly weaker. Montesi had consumed a lot of her god power, and she was forced to disseminate her god power. She just had time to breathe before joining the new battle. They were at the same realm, but she was hurt. Of course, she couldn't gain the upper hand in the battle against Beverly. She had tried her best to endure until now. Those were the best battles besides the one between Ziyao and Yuanzhu. After that, the subordinates of each clan were fighting in a melee. Although Neptune, Oliver, and Lebit were dead, the 4 clans didn't have only them as territory ancestors. Those experts who Shi Yen didn't know were entangled with Gay, Xiao Lai, Jia Enai, and Tian Xie. Forefather Dragon Lizard was the most prominent expert here, although he had just entered first sky of Territory Ancestor Realm not long ago. His power was incredible because of his absolute beginning blood. He had shed blood from an ancient monster clan expert at the same realm. That man was fighting against him with a monstrous body, which was a massive gold lion. However, he was nothing compared to Dragon Lizard's real body. His lion body was about to be dismembered soon. The battles between Immortal Realm, Incipient God Realm, Ethereal God Realm, and Original God Realm experts of different clans were also eye-catching. This kind of battle was actually a melee. Their battles stretched on a large area that Shi Yen couldn't see. It could have been as big as a territory. However, this kind of low level had more dead warriors. At first glance, corpses, fragments of battleships, broken armor, and weapons were everywhere. Observing the entire battlefield, Shi Yen grinned. The black holes flew out of his glabella, which were camouflaged with his space energy. They expanded and then turned invisible. After Yen told him that he was from the same side, Tom had kept an eye on him. When he saw the massive black holes, he was shaken as he recognized Yan's identity. When the black holes turned invisible, his eyes brightened and he checked around instinctively. He knew that Yen was fishing in troubled water. He was using the devouring power Upanishad to collect energy from the battles. While the expert around were dying, the invisible black holes would collect an amazing amount of energy and bring Yen great changes that he couldn't imagine. Montesi, you've mastered time power Upanishad. Do you see the future of your phantom clan? The future of being extinct? Beverly, the expert of the ancient monster clan with a snake body, had a gloomy face. However, her eyes were as cold as swords stabbing Montesi's face. More than 900 fist-sized drops of water lined up between her and Montesi. Each of the water drops had a world of water with undersea wonders, and even creatures with a human torso and snake body, like Beverly. More than 900 crystal-clear drops with an independent world inside each of them were connected directly to Beverly's territory. Her soul energy could get over space restrictions to pour into those water drops and make the water world bright and colorful. Those water world slowly affected the real world. It was like the real world had slowly disappeared and become a part of her water world. Montesi was frightened. She thought she was trapped in one of those worlds as a vulnerable creature that was burned and living in Beverly's territory. Beverly could control her death or life, and she could even erase her soul seal. It was the intrusion of the territory to her soul altar. As soon as this thought popped up in her head, the supper water power seeped into the steam in her body. Slowly, she became transparent like water. With this tendency, she merged to the nearest water drop and became a creature that Beverly could kill when she pleased. Beverly hovered in between so many water drops and used her territory to emit the soul energy to control the water power Upanishad that could melt everything. She wanted to take Montesi into her territory, enslaving and imprisoning her. She sneered continuously when she saw Montesi's puzzled eyes become blank. She told herself, "Soon you will lose yourself. I'll take your soul and torture you until your last wisp of soul consciousness is shattered. Use water to melt the earth and heaven." Yan's smirking voice came all of a sudden. Beverly was shaken hard. She turned around and found Yan appear behind her like a ghost. "If Montesi hadn't lost a large amount of her power, how could you have gotten the upper hand?" Yan raised his hand and pouted at the area where so many water drops were arrayed. A shooting star flew out from his fingertip. As soon as it entered the world of water, it transformed into Skyfall Star River, which was a piece of a bright galaxy with diamond-like stars. The starlight from this galaxy calmed people's minds. The worlds inside the water drops began to collapse strangely as the starlight of Skyfall Star River shone on them. Montesi's bewildered eyes turned bright. As soon as she recognized her situation, she bit the tip of her tongue and used her blood to wash the water power in her body. She also reversed time to the moment before she was bewitched. She became mindful shortly. "Yen!" She stooped and called him softly. Apparently, she had exhaled in relief. "You're not too late. Do you still have enough power to use the time seal?" smiled Yen. Montesi's eyes gained the light. "You meant the Great Seal technique that can seal both time and space." Yen nodded. "Sure, I have enough power to use," Montesi confirmed. "We should join hands and try." Yen turned to look at Beverly. Slowly, space ripples expanded from him, creating strange spaces, which looked as if they were created right from his body. His borderless space made the real world twisted as if it was about to be replaced by Yan's space. Beverly saw the space expanding and felt the confining power, her face discolored. At this moment, Montesi didn't talk more. after urging her power Upanishad. So many rays of light that could reverse time appeared. She had paused the time right at this moment. Beverly was frightened. Chapter 1572, Eternal Seal. Chapter 1572, Eternal Seal, Undersir. Time could fix formless things like the soul, consciousness, thought, and mind, while space could seal entities like the body, blood, and even power. When time and space power Upanishad were urged at the same time, together they could seal both visible and invisible things. It was a superb technique that De Carlos and Ming Hao's teacher had invented after Bloodthirsty defeated him. He had spent the rest of his life studying this technique. However, it was unfortunate that he had cultivated only space power Upanishad, as he couldn't find any expert at the same realm with time power Upanishad to test this marvelous technique. After so many years on the seabed of the Sea of Annihilation, Montesi and Shi Yen had joined hands to cast the Great Seal technique, which had facilitated them to bring Grace mainland and escape to Cloud Mist territory. At that time, Shi Yan's realm was too far behind what he had today, and his understanding of space power Upanishad wasn't profound enough. Time flew fast, and Shi Yan reached second sky of territory ancestor realm. At this moment, his realm, power, and Upanishads weren't less than Montesi. Even Shi Yan and Montesi couldn't estimate how formidable their Great Seal technique could be if they cast it right now. Waves of space energy rippled from his body and expanded. So many magical spaces were created, like illusional images, reflected in thousands of mirrors. All of a sudden, the energy impact in this area paused. The warriors could even see the trajectories of many blue lightning strikes and shooting lights. At this moment, many corpses, masses of blood, and broken battleships that were moving around as the momentum of the battles attracted them froze. From Shi Yen as the center, the space ripples reached hundreds of miles. All matters like clothes of blood, veins, cosmic dust, pieces of broken weapons that the naked eye could see were all fixed. Except for Shi Yen and Montesi, only Beverly could move. Beverly had a human torso and a snake body. She was panic-stricken when her voluptuous body crackled like a rusted machine trying to move. She was so chilled as she tried to urge her power. Blood flowed in body massively like rolling waves as she tried to move her body. As Shi Yan's space seal was cast, she felt her body get tied by invisible shackles that prevented her from moving her body. Fortunately, because a lot of Montesi's god power was consumed, her time power Upanishad couldn't catch up with Shi Yan's power right away. If her time seal was cast at the same time, her soul consciousness, and power Upanishad would be fixed too. At that time, she couldn't think or change her power Upanishads anymore. Also, her mobility was forced to stop. She would become a puppet that Shi Yen and Montesi could easily control. She gritted her teeth and tried to back off. She couldn't move fast. Usually, she could travel 1,000 miles within a breath. And now, she was just an ordinary warrior who could use only her physical strength to back off helter-skelter. Bright lights shot out from behind Montesi's neck like time that never came back. At this moment, Montesi was very beautiful. She wasn't less attractive than Meiji. Moreover, she had a mature glamour that was rare in this world. Although she used to be the most beautiful lady in this universe, she had used her time power to bring herself back to 12 or 13 years old to hide her utterly mesmerizing appearance. Many people had forgotten her beauty. At this moment, due to her significant loss of god power, she couldn't rewind her time and she had to appear as if she was 25 or 26 years old. Her exquisite glamour finally came back to her. Her hair was like a cascading waterfall of time. While her time power Upanishad was urged, so many wisps of her soul power moved and seeped into Shi Yan's confining space. She was using time power to strengthen the seal. She finally made it an eternal seal. The light of time controlled by her soul and power Upanishad seeped into the space Shiryen had affected previously. In the next moment, that space slowly changed. The empty space slowly materialized and turned into some substance, like a massive block of amber, which was a peculiar form of space. At the same time, Montesi's beautiful face blushed. She glanced at Shiryen. A gleam of puzzled and shy expressions crossed her eyes. When her time power Upanishad entered that fixed space, it was like her soul got into Shiryen's soul. In that short moment, her soul and Shiryen's soul began to blend with each other. They could feel each other's 7 emotions and 6 desires. Montesi could feel Shiryen's feeling and what he had experienced through his whole life. It was a magical feeling that she couldn't describe. Shiryen had used his space power to fix that section of the void. At his second sky of territory ancestor realm, when his power was urged, his soul, God power, and soul consciousness stuck together like a shadow and a body. That's why the confining power of space had his soul seal. Previously, when his realm was still low and when he cooperated with Montesi to cast this great seal technique, they hadn't formed a soul resonance. Thus, he didn't have any feeling at that time. Similarly, Montesi hadn't felt anything at that time. This time it was different. According to De Carlos and Ming Hao's teacher, if the two who had similar realm and power cast this great seal together, their souls could blend with each other and create a consciousness resonance where they could reach a magical state of fusing into one in a short time. Today, Shiryen at second sky of territory ancestor realm had a similar realm and power to Montesi. The strange feature they hadn't been able to trigger last time had finally happened. When time power Upanishad entered, it made the void visible and become like a pond of some liquid substance. At the same time, Montesi's and Shiryen's spirit, souls, and consciousness merged together for a short moment. However, it was enough to reach the marvelous effects of soul intercourse. The energy fluctuation from this soul intercourse was hundreds of times more passionate than real intimate activities between a man and a woman. Sure, Yin tried to keep himself together. He even used space power Upanishad to freeze his face and stop himself from groaning from pleasure, which would embarrass himself in front of Montesi. However, the magical stimulation from his soul came like unceasing waves. He felt relaxed, and it was so wonderful that he couldn't resist. Montesi had lived for tens of thousands of years. Although she was the most beautiful woman in this sea of stars, she had followed her faith for all of her life, which was to pursue power and the Phantom clan's prosperity. She had never fallen for any man. In her long life, she had never had intimate times with any man, and she had never thought about the romantic things between a man and a woman. But today, while using the strange fusing technique of the Great Seal, her soul and Shiryen's soul connected to each other magically. The resonance created by that fusion was thousands of times better than real sexual activity. She was sinking in the pool of desire constantly. She didn't look at Shiryen anymore and closed her eyes, her face blushing. Another beam of light shot out from her body and poured into the sealed space. From her and Shiryen as the center, the world seal that looked like a big block of amber expanded amazingly fast. Beverly at second sky of territory, ancestor realm, couldn't escape. The duet seal had fixed her. At this moment, she looked like a little snake trapped inside amber. Her fear was frozen on her face as she was retreating. Leave the space Montesi and I are covering at your fastest speed. At this moment, the absolute beginning blood in Shiryen's body burned. He used his will of steel to send the message to Han Tian, Hero, and Dracula to ask them to prepare. It was because Shiryen could feel that the soul intercourse between him and Montesi had promoted the Great Seal to the point that they might not be able to control it. The amber space had crazily expanded and sealed Beverly at her second sky of territory ancestor realm. They couldn't estimate how big the area it could cover after it was done reaching. Sure, Yen had a terrifying feeling. Once the seal was finished, he couldn't dissolve it. The terrifying power of time and space made him restless too. Han Tian's team was frightened when they received Shi Yan's message. They didn't care that they might fall into the lower hand in their battles, but tried to spread Shi Yan's message to their subordinates. Instantaneously, all members of the mysterious Sky Clan, Whitebone Clan, Heavenly Craftsman Clans, and the God Clan who were fighting the Devouring Clan, Black Demon Clan, Ancient Monster Clan, and So Clan tried to retreat from the battle quickly, leaving as fast and far away from Montasy and Shi Yan as they could. Swoosh! 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 Many warriors had run away. The battlefield became chaotic. The 4 clans, under the furious attack, didn't know what had happened. They exhaled in relief when the others suddenly ran away. Shortly after, they recognized that an amber space was crazily swarming toward them and covering the entire world. Thousands of fellows of the Soul Clan, Ancient Monster Clan, Devouring Clan, and Black Demon Clan were fixed. They were sealed here eternally by the time and space power Upanishad. The experts at Ethereal God Realm, Incipient God Realm, Immortal God Realm, and even Territory Ancestor Realm had become little worms inside the amber. Their souls, consciousness, thoughts, and soul altars froze altogether with their bodies. They were never going to get rid of it. They were going to stay like this forever. From Montasy and Shi Yan as the center, an area extending billions of miles became like a massive lake with tens of thousands of members of the Devouring Clan, Black Demon Clan, Ancient Monster Clan, and Soul Clan sealed. They were all elite forces of the 4 clans, famous warriors in the Sea of Stars, with some of them at the Territory Ancestor Realm. At this moment, space was confined and time was paused. Every creature had fallen into deadly silence. An eternal seal. Chapter 1573. Create a Miracle. Chapter 1573. Create a Miracle. Time and space seemed to have paused at this moment. An entire space in amber color was frozen and silenced. Tens of thousands of experts of the 4 clans were fixed. Their souls and body were nailed. It seemed like there was no power in this world that could rescue them. The terrifying race war that should be so furious stopped strangely. The confrontation between the 10 great territory ancestors ceased quietly. At this moment, everyone gazed at that area, Shi Yan and Montasy. A fierce fear filled Dragon Lizard and the others' hearts, expanding to their bodies. They felt lucky that they had escaped one step earlier. So many living warriors were like dragons or tigers a moment ago. Just in seconds, they became like fossils. The area was like earth and heaven prison that had locked everything, including creatures, bones, pieces of flesh, and fragments, and put them into eternal silence. They were all frozen and couldn't move even a bit, including Beverly at Second Sky of Territory Ancestor Realm. What happened? How could it be? Looking at tens of thousands of frozen warriors, Hero was bewildered. He sensed and changed his face in fear. It's a powerful sealing technique. My soul consciousness couldn't seep into it. Gosh! Time and space have cast an eternal seal. The power at that level isn't something that we can understand. Dracula's eyes were glistening. His white bone body wiggled and crackled as if he wanted to do that to prove he was still able to move. Tian Xie and the experts of the God Clan, Judy and Han Tian of the mysterious Sky Clan, were bewildered and skeptical. They knew that they are lucky. When Shi Yan's soul consciousness came, they could feel his tense and uneasy feeling. They decided to trust him and ask their fellows to leave at the fastest speed. They didn't mind if their bodies got hurt. What happened had proven their decision and their belief in Shi Yan. Most warriors of the mysterious Sky Clan, Whitebone Clan, and Tian Xie's team had escaped. However, several thousand hesitant warriors were frozen together with the Devouring Clan. Briefly, they had to bear a small loss that they could accept. Serene Prison, Rupert, and Edgar couldn't accept this. Many experts in their forces were sealed. How could they continue this war? They couldn't believe their eyes when they saw Beverly there. At second sky of Territory Ancestor Realm, she couldn't escape. How could that happen? After dozens of seconds of silence, Edgar and Serene Prison showed resolute faces. Leaving Han Tian and the others, they headed towards that sealed space. Break! Edgar condensed his blood to create a massive bloody sword that carried his desperate and destructive will. That blood sword was 10,000 meters long, like a silver river, slashing on that area. Boom! The blood sword that could have an entire planet gashed that amber area and clashed like a loud explosion. The bloody sword broke into pieces. Lights in Edgar's eyes dimmed. He couldn't help but spurt blood. However, he restrained himself and tried not to vomit blood. Serene Prison's face changed fast. Deep fear occupied his heart. He hesitated for a while before opening his mouth to release countless souls and ghosts. The ghosts weaved with each other into a thick mesh net and covered the amber space. He urged his energy to shake that space. Swoosh! 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 So many wailing and screeching ghosts hovered in this piece of the universe. Serene Prison's god power rolled like a river and poured into his ghosts. However, he couldn't sway that space or pull his fellows out of the amber trap. Seeing Edgar and Serene Prison fail, Rupert didn't try and just talked gloomily. It seems like the three of us need to join hands. Serene Prison and Edgar were shaken as they thought that it was possible. They decided to join hands to try. However, in this moment, two divine light columns shot out from that space. After they got out, they slowly turned into Shiryen and Montesi. They stood shoulder by shoulder, their faces complicated. They didn't look at Serene Prison and Edgar, but the solid, amber space. The strange light flared in their eyes and became more odd. The solid, sealed space cast by their soul, power Upanishads and God power could seal the entire world and imprison the experts forever. However, when they observed the space underneath, they had a strange feeling that they couldn't explain. It felt like the world down there didn't relate a bit to them. Even if they wanted to get in there one more time, it seemed impossible. Sure, Ian pondered for a while and then turned into a space lightsaber. He wanted to get in there and rescue some members of the mysterious Sky Clan and Whitebone Clan. Strange things happened. When he touched that space, it felt like a massive rubber ball. It bounced him back with a soft but powerful force. He discolored in fear and turned to Montesi with a puzzled face. Montesi also tried to use her time energy to get in there. Similarly, she was sent back. She couldn't intrude that amber space. What happened? Judy quietly approached. She paused when she was dozens of meters away from the other two. We combined time and space power Upanishads to cast a seal. It works well, though. Anyway, its power was over our estimation. Even the two of us can't get into that sealed area. It looks like space there was eternally sealed and no force can tear it. Montesi resumed her natural poise. Pondering, she said sadly, "This forbidden technique is too bizarre. I didn't expect it to be so fierce like that. The warriors captured inside will exist like that forever. Unless some force breaks that space, they will never be able to get out. No seal is unbreakable." However, Yuan Zu's low-pitched shout arose above their heads. Boom! Their soul altars were shaken. Then the black sea emerged right before the massive absolute beginning body of Yuan Zu descended. The giant turtle was much bigger than several life stars, forcefully barging into the amber space. He wanted to smash it. His real body was the absolute beginning creature called Yuan, a formidable existence at third sky of Territory Ancestor Realm. He had the highest realm in this vast sea of stars. On earth and in heaven, in this dark, endless universe, and at the end of the mysterious abysses, only his peers like Devour, Desolate, and Zi Yao could compete against him. Except for those people, Sauron, the divine dragon whose tail they couldn't see, could also deal with him. Those experts were the ones who had walked to the end of their cultivating path to reach third sky of territory ancestor realm. Even in the absolute beginning era, they were at the high echelon and not many people could resist them. With his real body and the seething black sea covering it, this impact was extremely tremendous. It shook the entire world as if it could break an entire natural territory. All the experts in this area were horror-struck. Even Rupert, Serene Prison, and Montesi had to change their faces as they moved backward. Only Sher Yen wore a cold face and snorted. He hid in a space crack and watched Yuan's body bump into the space. Boom, 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 boom. Yuan and his giant turtle body had condensed the weight of so many territories in the Sea of Stars to savagely attack that amber space. The shock waves from that impact had pressed on many experts. Blood streamed down from their 7 natural facial holes. Rupert even felt his muscles shiver. The solid void caused by time and space power Upanishad, the amber, sealed space, didn't even have a scratch. The warriors present here were all the strongest experts in this vast sea of stars. Whether they were from the same side or not, they were dumbstruck and their eyes were fixed on Sher Yen and Montesi. Miracle. It was a miracle. Impossible. There's no space that I can't break. There's no seal that I can't tear. Yuan howled crazily, like a beast at the last moment of its life. The giant turtle body shook hard and created waves of reaching energy, which discolored even the earth and heaven. Pretty far from this area, because of his unceasing energy, many planets shattered and sank like tiny fireflies in the dark universe, disappearing to an unknown area. The territories under his seeping energy cracked and sent an apocalypse to the creatures living there. It's impossible. He was still launching more attacks and using both his energy and physical strength of the giant body to barge and tear this heavenly seal. Unfortunately, all of his deeds were gone in vain. The area where Sher Yan's and Montesi's soul, power Upanishads, and God power had soaked had become an everlasting miracle of this world. It looked like when it was created when there was nothing in this world that could break or unseal it. The absolute time and space seals in their finest stage can even confine the world or an entire era and freeze billions of lives like insects inside amber. They will stay like that forever, and nothing can change it. Deep in the void where clouds hovered, Zi Yao sat on the snake head, observing and sighing. In our absolute beginning era, no creature could merge time and space closely and magically like that. I can't believe people in this era could do it. It's lucky that you guys haven't reached peak of territory ancestor realm. Otherwise, not only this area, but also the entire sea domain of nihility would have froze like this. Hearing her, all the experts looked disbelieving. They didn't know that when time and space powers were merged to the acme, they could seal the entire world. Yuan, you can't tear that space. I can't, and neither can Desolate. Zi Yao coldly looked at the giant turtle underneath and spoke indifferently. Unless you can advance through the territory ancestor realm to reach that level. Yeah, the absolute beginning realm. You can use your thoughts to give birth to a whole new world. That's when you can unseal the eternal time and space seal. Her words silenced all the experts here. No one could retort. Yuan pulled himself together and mumbled. It turns out that the rumor is correct. Chapter 1574. Ensure the Victory. Chapter 1574. Ensure the Victory __. Most of the members of the Soul Clan, Devouring Clan, Black Demon Clan, and Ancient Monster Clan were sealed in that amber space. The battle with equal forces had lost its balance in just a blink of an eye. If this battle continued like this, It wasn't hard to imagine the result. The four clans' warriors would be erased. Even Beverly, one of the 10 great territory ancestors, the leader of the ancient monster clan, was sealed there too. Without her, Edgar, Serene Prison, and Rupert would fall into a dangerous situation. Slash! Slash! The water murmured, and Yuan, inside the black water, shrank rapidly. As the turtle was reducing its size, the black water was also sucked into its terrifying body little by little. Shortly, Yuan disappeared, and Yuan Zhu, its human clone, appeared on a river. He lifted his head to look at the dim shadow of a snake in the sky. Gazing at Ziyao on the host snake with a dark and cold face while speaking, "We don't need to continue this war. We're leaving." Edgar, Serene Prison, and Rupert wore a heavy face, wincing while checking their subordinates. During this battle, their clans had to bear a significant loss. The ones in the seal were their key members. As they were frozen now, they would never be able to get rid of it. Quite the contrary, Han Tian, Hero, and the other members of their clans were stirred up by the powerful aura. They wanted to hunt the four clans to their last member. They were actually more eager in this battle. This war wasn't in their control anymore. If they lingered, all of their fellows would have to bury their bodies here. Edgar, Serene Prison, and Rupert nodded as they acknowledged their defeat. They wanted to leave this battlefield with Yuan Zhu. It's not easy to leave. Hero of the Whitebone clan was like a glowing sharp sword, locking the other three. Han Tian and Judy sneered simultaneously while gesturing. The mysterious Sky clan warriors gathered in response, their soul altars floating up into the sky while releasing an immense, endless energy. None of you has reached the third sky of Territory Ancestor Realm. Do you think you can stop me? Yuan Zhu snorted. The black river underneath him suddenly stretched deep into the sea domain of nihility. The rolling stream emitted the marvelous fluctuations of the most fundamental water power, Upanishad. As soon as Edgar, Serene Prison, Rupert, and their subordinates stepped into the river, Yuan Zhu's power protected them all. That river elongated endlessly like a black band of fabric, then took the warriors except for Edgar, Rupert, and Yuan Zhu, flowing away rapidly. Yuan Zhu and the three experts stood on one end of the river, protecting the others. Han Tian, Judy, Hero, and Montesi felt Yuan Zhu's terrifying aura from that water stream. They were a little shaken, so they didn't take action, but looked at Ziyao in the sky and Shi Yan, who was not far from them. Ziyao sat neatly on her purple crystal throne, observing everything as she spoke indifferently. "Let him go!" Everybody turned to Shi Yan, who grinned evilly. "Let them go!" Han Tian and the others didn't talk more. With a cold face, they watched the enemies leave as no one stopped them. Shortly, the warriors of the four clans were delivered deep into the void by the Black River. Yuan Zhu and Serene Prison raked their eyes across the crowd before stepping on the river and flowing away. After that river disappeared completely, Ziyao's snake body shrank into a green light, disappearing into her glabella. Slowly, she descended from the void, her body gracefully pretty. Yuan's pretty powerful. It didn't bear any damage from the last bloody battle of the Absolute Beginning Era. After so many years of accumulation, it's truly scary. It's really bad that it's not talented at all. Although it has mastered subtle conspiracy skills, it didn't spend efforts on cultivating and battling. Thus, even if it has a lot of energy, its realm isn't high enough. Yao turned to look at the crowd. If we don't force it too much, the threat won't be terrifying. When it feels its life threatened, it will burst out the energy it has accumulated over billions of years. At that time, except for the Territory Ancestor Realm experts, no one on our side would be able to stay alive. Hearing her, Han Tian and the others turned embarrassed, their doubts vanishing. The third sky of Territory Ancestor Realm is the utmost realm in this world. At the same time, Yuan's an absolute beginning creature. The energy it has can destroy dozens of territories. Once it bursts out, unless you are at the same realm, not many people can endure that, Xiao said calmly. The others nodded inwardly. They didn't continue the topic as they recognized that they were just dizzy because of the sudden victory. The victory is ensured. Next, we must try our best to gain more benefits, Xiao smiled, her bright eyes gazing at Shi Yan as she talked tenderly. Shi Yan will take you to get the fruits of our victory. A second sky of territory ancestor realm expert who cultivates space power Upanishad is the nightmare of any enemy. Everybody couldn't help but turn to look at him as well. Shi Yan laughed, talking deliberately. The entrance to the Soul Clan is open. The 3 territory souls, serene prison, has labored to breed for 10,000 years have been captured. The cultivating materials they have accumulated for tens of thousands of years should be cleared by now. Amar and Meiji, I guess they're attacking the Black Demon Clan and Ancient Monster Clan now. Han Tian, Hero, and Montesi were so happy that they couldn't hold back their crazy laughter. Although Yuan Zu's formidable, he hasn't comprehended the space power Upanishad. At their speed, even if they know their clans have been plundered, they can't return in a short while. Shi Yan's face turned evilly cold. But I can deliver you to outside the Black Demon Clan and Ancient Monster Clan in just a blink of an eye. By the time they reach their homes, our business would be done already. Everybody had their eyes brightened on hearing that. Meanwhile, Shi Yan closed his eyes and a dazzling space mirror flew out of his glabella, which then spun and reflected many different illusional spaces. Space light radiated from these spaces and slowly turned into 3 passages. They lead to the Black Demon Clan and Ancient Monster Clan. It depends on you guys to break the barriers out there, said Shi Yan. Han Tian, Hero, and Montesi exchanged looks, then roared happily as they assigned their experts to head toward the 2 space passages. A large force of the mysterious Sky Clan and White Bone Clan disappeared into the passages. After they moved through the passage, they could see Meiji and Emperor Sea Shark. Shortly after, except for that amber-sealed space, only Shi Yan and Xiao were left in the volcano cloud sea. This space-time seal is really fierce, as even Yuan couldn't break it. As a matter of fact, I can't break it either. Xiao looked pensive as she observed the eternal seal. It's a miracle made by you and that little girl. The later generations will come and behold it. Actually, I don't think I can create another miracle like this, Shi Yan frowned. Besides God power and the resonance between the power Upanishads, rare encounters and destiny are required as well. I believe Montesi has the same thought as me. We understand that we won't be able to create this sort of a miracle one more time. You're right. Many magical supernatural abilities need luck to be cast. Xiao nodded, changing the topic. How much energy have you collected this time? Shi Yan didn't answer, just smiled and closed his eyes. In this spacious battlefield, corpses were scattered everywhere, while so many pieces of broken battleships hovered everywhere. Suddenly, 7 devouring black holes emerged, revolving terribly with immense and fierce energy that was mixed and polluted with negative energies and dregs. It was waiting to be filtered and refined into pure energy. There were numerous broken pieces of souls from the mysterious Sky Clan, White Bone Clan, and Heavenly Craftsman Clan. As their souls exploded, those pieces were just bits of memory covered in energy, having no chance to revive. That's a part of the mysterious Sky Clan and White Bone Clan's members. Although they're dead, it's not good to let Han Tian and Hero see me absorb them. So, I have to wait for them to leave first, Shi Yan explained. Xiao smiled and nodded. Right, they were their fellows. Although they are dead, in the others' hearts, they should rest in peace. They think like that because their vision is narrow. After all, in this world, when the creatures die, their souls will vanish, becoming heaven and earth energy one more time. 7 black holes slowly turned into 7 ink-black orbs, disappearing into his glabella. His face twisted, taking a deep breath. Not bad. I got a relatively big harvest this time. Seems like only bloody battles can facilitate my breakthrough faster. What you can do, Devour can as well. The Great War has happened in this era, so it won't stay idle. Yao looked gloomy. After it returned to the Devouring Clan, its power is slowly recovering. The members of the Devouring Clan have captured creatures in the territories they control for it to swallow. If it recovers to a certain level, it won't be afraid of the experts of the 7 clans. Then, it will leave the lair and swallow the vast sea of stars. I have a premonition that it would seize a chance and attack. Of course, we will have a fight. My devouring power Upanishad comes from it. Only refining it will make me the only expert who possesses the devouring power Upanishad. Shuryen talked harshly. The light column from the power Upanishad symbol tower is your key to victory. Yao's eyes brightened. It's the light that helped you get rid of Zhen Ru's invasion. I heard that it's the light from Absolute Beginning's eyes when it awoke and opened its eyes for the first time. One of the main materials to build the power Upanishad symbol tower is the Absolute Beginning Eye. Chapter 1575, Endless Abyss. Chapter 1575, Endless Abyss _ Empty Land. So many cities had their gates opened, but there was nobody inside. It seemed that this place had been covered in dust for 10,000 years. Empty Land was one of the biggest markets of the sea domain of Nihility. Every year, millions of warriors from different clans settled here, and the number of visitors was uncountable. Every day, battleships came and went regularly. However, at this moment, it seemed that the entire empty land was lifeless in deadly silence. Deep in the sky, several black holes were shrinking. The bodies of so many experts were stuck in those black holes, disappearing altogether. There were numerous motionless battleships and war chariots hovering in the skies of Empty City. However, no beam of vitality was found. Time flew fast. One day, a battleship of the Potion and Tool Union came, anchoring above Empty City. A man stood on the battleship, his arms crossed in front of his chest. He looked at the quiet cities, his face shocked, and then immediately reported the situation. The news that millions of creatures living on empty land had disappeared mysteriously had been spread out fast. Everybody knew about it, and every clan was shaken hard in fright. This universe was facing its most dangerous time. Being shaken continually, this era could end soon. Han Tian, Hero, and Montesi were leading their subordinates to attack the homelands of the Black Demon Clan and Ancient Monster Clan. They were shelling on the barriers cast by the 2 clans for tens of thousands of years to barge in. Many powerful clans dependent on the mysterious Sky Clan, Whitebone Clan, and Phantom Clan had received the information. They then immediately gathered to attack the surrounding territories. For example, Masha and Evelyn's of the Heavenly Eye Clan had received orders from Judy, which asked them to find a chance and intrude the Wavy River Star area next to them or the Took Star area, which was even nearer. These 2 star areas belonged to the Soul Clan. Previously, they didn't dare to trespass others' lands. However, due to the war between the 7 clans that had reduced the Soul Clan's might, the Heavenly Eye Clan had gathered their best force to fight. Finally, they had stepped on the path of conquering. They joined hands with some other small forces under the mysterious Sky Clan to attack the surroundings clans. The war between the 7 clans wasn't exclusive to the 7 clans themselves. Many dependent races and forces had joined this war as well. In this vast sea of stars and the borderless sea domain of Nihility, many territories and races had begun their fights. The race war was filled with slaughter, genocide, conquering, as death reached every corner of the universe, blowing past almost every race. This striking war had boiled up the sea of stars and the current era. So many life stars had collapsed, numerous territories were utterly destroyed. Explosions happened everywhere. Death, slaughter, genocide, and battles happened in every territory. The vastly immense universe was shaken hard as countless warriors perished together with their homes. It was an icy, dark area. Underneath, it was an endless abyss, and above it was the gray void. The suns, moons, and stars fell like a sprinkle through the gray void into this icy world. Many collapsed territories, which looked like burst-off balloons, also fell from the sky into this world. This place had clouds with many colors and bright mists. However, occupying the place were also numerous, massive abysses. They were scattered amidst the sea of clouds, gathering in clusters and big masses, too numerous to count. The suns, moons, and stars falling from the sky would enter those abysses. Even the massive, shattered territories sank, falling into all those abysses. This place was called the Endless Abyss, the bottom of the universe, the lowest land under the sea domain of nihility. Rumors said that no creature could affect this place. When the world was cleared and the universe collapsed, the suns, moons, and stars would fall into the endless abyss. At this moment, because of the horrible war in the sea of stars, many life stars had exploded and many territories were torn apart. The broken suns, moons, and stars fell unceasingly, piercing through perpetual darkness to reach this place, and then sank into those lake-like, massive abysses. Countless abysses hovered in the misty sea of clouds, always cold and silent, without a wisp of energy from living creatures. At that moment, a silhouette quietly emerged in this endless abyss. He was a middle-aged human man with white hair draped around his shoulders. With a pair of abyss-like eyes, he looked somehow archaic. He was wearing a simple, bright silver robe, walking in the void above an abyss. Sometimes he lifted his head to watch the suns and moons falling, mumbling to himself, "Almost. The conditions to open it will be soon met." He was Sauron, one of the 10 great territory ancestors. He was from the human clan, the real master of the potion and tool union. At the third sky of territory ancestor realm, he was the peak existence of the current era. He was walking in the void above the abysses, watching the suns, moons, and stars falling, feeling the death of countless creatures. With an indifferent face, he was talking to himself. The surface of each abyss he had walked through slowly projected some mysterious but incredible images of the warriors dying and soul altars exploding. Those images seemed to be the memories of the planets when they fell into the abysses. In silence, they were telling him many things. He rarely showed himself. During the last tens of thousands of years, he had settled here to observe the absolute beginning gateway hidden in there. He was waiting and promoting the chances of opening it. The absolute beginning gateway hid inside the endless abyss. This place was a mysterious land that had always been sealed since the absolute beginning era. The absolute beginning creatures had paid with the end of their era, but none of them could break the territory ancestor realm to enter the utmost eternal realm. The closed absolute beginning gateway didn't open at that time. Sauron had stayed here and observed for tens of thousands of years, trying to find the way to open the absolute beginning gateway. To do that, he had done everything he could. Boop! As he was walking above an abyss, it suddenly changed into a clear lake. Inside the lake, a shadow slowly formed. It was Zhenru. Zhenru was standing on a cold, dead star in the sea domain of nihility. The lake also showed many members of the myriad-shaped tribe who wore sorrowful faces and groaned in agony for the deaths of their fellows. "You deceived me. All of my efforts were smashed by the light from the Power Upanishad symbol tower. I had almost been killed there. Many of my fellows died to save me. I've sacrificed so many warriors for your plan. You must shoulder the responsibility for the loss of our clan." Zhenru's cold voice pierced through the lake. coming from a deep place inside the universe to this endless abyss. The shoulder-length white-haired Sauron wore an unconcerned face, his voice cold. "It's your greed that has harmed you. I did remind you. I asked you to instigate Cantacy and Fan to Lay's resentments against Shir Yen and make them fight against each other. I had never told you to kill him. He was able to fuse with the power Upanishad, Symbol Tower. Do you think you can kill him?" Without waiting for Zhen-Ru to snap back, Sauron talked coldly. "I told Montassi to give him the Cloud Mist territory so that he could have a chance of obtaining the Skyfall Star River, which helped him attain the absolute beginning body. I want him to live well. He's the most important step in my plan, as he's the key to open the absolute beginning gateway. Before the gateway opens, he must live well. Yuan Zhu has provoked a war between the 7 clans. Is it a part of your plan, too? The 7 clans are fighting. The entire universe is in chaos. So many suns, moons, and stars are shattering. This absolutely prosperous time will come to an end because of this. Is that what you really want?" roared Zhen-Ru. "No era can last forever. The absolute beginning era was extremely rich and powerful, but it disappeared in the long river of history. How could it not happen? In my eyes, the end of the absolute beginning era didn't bring any benefit because that gateway never opened. If it requires the end of our era to open the absolute beginning gateway, I think it will be worth it," said Sauron firmly. Devour is killing around the Sea of Stars, slaughtering the big territories to recover its energy. This Sea of Stars can't endure its swallowing campaign anymore. It's getting more intimidating. If it is fully recovered, do you think you can still control the general situation?" Zhen-Ru hissed. "It's still in my hands. Even if Devour returns to its peak condition, as long as it doesn't make the last step, it can't enter the eternal, utmost realm." "So it's still in my hands," Sauron said calmly. Pausing for a while, he frowned for the first time. "Shir Yen is the only variable. Since I can't hold his string of fate, I will sweep him away first after he opens the absolute beginning gateway." "Who is that Shir Yen? What has happened after all? Why couldn't you grasp his string of fate? You can see Devourers and Desolates, so how could you not see his?" Zhen-Ru was surprised. Sauron pondered for a long time and then said in a gloomy voice, "During the last tens of thousands of years, I've been here, guarding the endless abyss and observing the absolute beginning gateway to check if it would change. However, after dozens of thousands of years, it hasn't had any minor change. I was even about to give up once." Zhen-Ru was so curious listening to him. She wanted to know what had occurred. "At the moment, I was almost hopeless. On a day hundreds of years ago, a flow of soul light flew out of that absolute beginning gateway. That flow of soul had pierced through the endless abyss and disregarded the space limits to enter desolate territory, landing on the Grace mainland. That soul light was Shir Yan's host soul," said Sauron. "A soul flew out of the absolute beginning gateway." Zhen-Ru was dumbstruck. Sauron nodded. "After his soul flew away, the absolute beginning gateway that stood still for tens of thousands of years began to change subtly." Chapter 1576 Establish the World. Chapter 1576 Establish the World _. The Cloud Mist territory was located deep inside a sea of clouds. The Grace mainland that came from the desolate territory hovered inside the thick clouds as bands of smokes and mists twirled around the planet like ribbons. Heaven and earth energy moved like dragons in every corner of the continent. The warriors from desolate territory like Yang Tian Emperor, Shurjian, Longzhu, Karthu, and many other characters from different forces stayed here to cultivate their bodies and soul, comprehending power Upanishads and improving their god power ancient tree to reach the higher realms. Many of them had their realms broken through quickly, as they had access to abundant heaven and earth energy here. Their progress was steadily fast. Today, 3 tunnels made of space ripples got through the territory from unknown areas, all appearing above the Grace mainland. The 3 tunnels pierced through the territory entrance, falling like a galaxy. Many warriors on the Grace mainland were startled, floating up and gathering by the entrance of the 3 tunnels. Shortly after, silhouettes began to fly out of the tunnels. Emperor Sea Shark, Ming Hao, Xian He, Audrey, Azure Dragon, De Carlos, and Frederick brought their warriors home. They all smiled, talking cheerily and loudly from the 3 tunnels. The 3 tunnels were connected to the territories of the Soul Clan, Black Demon Clan, and Ancient Monster Clan, respectively. Representing the forces in the Cloud Mist territory, they had obtained a major harvest from the headquarters of the 3 great clans, which were the cultivating materials the 3 clans had collected and accumulated over tens of thousands of years. We don't need to worry about cultivating materials even after 10,000 years, let alone our Grace mainland. Even if we had warriors from 10 Grace mainlands, we're sure we could satisfy their needs of cultivation resources. Ming Hao's cold face wore a sincere smile. Under the furious attacks of Hantian, Hero, and Montesi, the Black Demon and Ancient Monster Clan's ancestral lands had fallen. Experts of the mysterious Sky Clan, White Bone Clan, Phantom Clan, and the Grace mainland had swarmed toward them like hungry wolves, plundering all properties and precious assets. From now on, the warriors on the Grace mainland didn't need to worry about their pellets, tools, armors, books of power Upanishads, and other cultivation aids. There were no doubts that they could reach high realms eventually. A large amount of cultivation materials were transported through the 3 tunnels from the Soul Clan, Black Demon Clan, and Ancient Monster Clan. The warriors on the Grace mainland were so excited when they found out about the spoils they obtained, and everybody soon became busy. Bring them all to the Endless Sea. We will arrange later. Everyone will get their share. Even your later generations will have the best cultivation materials. I'm sure we can use them for the next 10,000 years. Ming Hao screamed. Under his arrangement, the cultivation materials from the 3 clans were stacked up like mountains. The experts then levitated them and transported them to the Endless Sea. At the same time, things happened the same in the mysterious Sky Clan, White Bone Clan, and Phantom Clan. Through the space tunnels, the White Bone Clan, Mysterious Sky Clan, and Phantom Clan had also attained a great harvest. They gathered the spoils they obtained and transported them to their territories. The Soul Clan, Black Demon Clan, and Ancient Monster Clan's properties were cleared, and the guards in their headquarters were all killed. When Serene Prison and Rupert came home, what awaited them would be the 3 large ruins. Staying hidden in a world between the Phantom Clan and Whitebone Clan was a mysterious territory entrance, which led to Cloud Mist territory. At this moment, Shi Yan was sitting cross-legged in that empty void. Starlight bloomed and sprinkled from his body. The Skyfall Star River was activated shortly as it moved and overflowed like a stream of starlight, heading to a deep place. Pieces of free asteroids and broken planets around him were attracted by his star power Upanishad, gathering from far away. Gradually, the empty area was packed with asteroids that slowly piled upon each other. Pairs of giant hands made of stars twisted and squeezed them, creating a massive planet. This planet had the broken pieces of asteroids and planets as the foundation. At first, it was tiny, but the continent began to enlarge as Shi Yan poured more energy. After an unknown time, along with his uncontrollably increasing energy, that planet was now 10 times bigger than the Grace mainland, and it was more colossal than the Dragon Lizard Star. The massive continent hovered in the void, gradually transforming into a magical land like the ancestral land of the Phantom Clan or the Whitebone Clan. Heaven and earth energy gathered, becoming as thick as a fog that never dispersed. Time flew by, and finally the new continent had been established. Receiving his message, A group of experts living on the Grace mainland like Emperor Sea Shark, Xian He, and Ming Hao flew toward him from the secret entrance. They began to build cities and palaces on this new planet, plant spirit herbs, arrange formations, dig up channels to guide the outer space flood to make seas and rivers. They even piled up the rocks to create high mountains and urged the wood power Upanishad to grow forests. Slowly, the new continent grew vigorously, now having mountains, rivers, lakes, and murmuring energy. It even had jungles and volcanoes, all things suitable for the warriors to live and cultivate in. The new continent had become a magical land which could be compared to the ancestral lands of the Phantom Clan, Whitebone Clan, and mysterious Sky Clan in the sea domain of nihility. It gathered many experts of the Grace mainland who stayed there to survive and cultivate, gathering energy from outer space to expand the land further, making it formidable. The Low Realm warriors at Original God Realm, King God Realm, or Lower Realm stayed on the Grace mainland in the Cloud Mist territory. They continued to cultivate and advance their power in that closed but safe environment. The new continent was situated in the sea domain of nihility, right at the entrance to Cloud Mist territory. At the same time, the Cloud Mist territory was an independent territory, which was sealed and pretty safe. In a corner of the new continent, which was considered a forbidden place, was a strange desert with yellow, flying sand. It was quiet and burning hot. Deep in the desert was a vacuum where a majestic man was sitting. He had been sitting there for so many years. One day, the territory ancestors, including Montesi, Meiji Hero, Hantian Judy, Forefather Dragon Lizard, and Dracula appeared in the sky. They observed the new land, their eyes radiating strange lights. 30 years ago, this place was just an empty space with rare rocks and broken planets. It used to be isolated and cold. But after 30 years, a planet had emerged with thick heaven and earth energy, mountains and rivers. Everything was growing lushly. Many cities were built where warriors lived and cultivated. It had become a magical land like the empty land. Someone had created it from nothing by squeezing asteroids and planets together. "Get down there!" Hero looked at that area deep inside the desert. The others nodded, then turned into jets of light, zooming toward that area. In the control center of this new continent, Ming Hao, who was at the territory ancestor realm, suddenly frowned. He turned into a shadow, walking out of the fortress and hovering in the void of the planet. Experts from the Whitebone Clan, the Phantom Clan, and mysterious Sky Clan, Emperor Sea Shark's voice came from another city. "Dismiss the light protection. They have come to find Shuryen." Ming Hao nodded in response. An invisible cage that protected the entire planet vanished slowly. The planet looked like an egg that had its shell peeled off as the outermost protection was dismissed. Han Tian slowly nodded. "They're doing great. They've done a lot of excellent work with so many heaven and earth treasures from the Soul Clan, Black Demon Clan, and Ancient Monster Clan. This protection formation isn't weaker than the one the Soul Clan used to have. The Soul Clan, Black Demon Clan, and Ancient Monster Clan have declined, and they're rising. They're now the strongest force in this vast sea of stars." Hero watched the cities underneath and felt the intimidating auras inside as he said, "After several hundred years, they will be as strong as our 3 clans. With Shuryen and that woman, nothing is impossible for them." 30 years later, Montesi hadn't been able to reverse time to appear in her little girl body. The wounds she had to bear from the previous battle weren't recovered fully. She squinted, observing the still figure in the desert while feeling complicated. While talking, they landed like meteors or rainbows at the center of the desert, gathering by Shuryen. Shuryen was sitting motionlessly in the vacuum area. He was right in front of them, but Han Tian, Hero, and Montesi couldn't feel his soul signals. It was as if he wasn't there. The strange feeling shook them as they knew that his realm had advanced further. "Cough! Cough!" Hero looked at him and coughed, his eyes yearning. Everybody scrutinized him, waiting for him to wake up. No one made any noise. A long time later, that vacuum area slowly disappeared. Yellow sand flew everywhere, covering his body. At this moment, he opened his eyes, which looked misty and puzzled. After a while, his eyes regained focus. It seemed he had traveled through times and space, so he couldn't locate himself yet. They didn't talk much, just watched and waited for him. After 15 minutes, he regained his sound mind, his eyes turning deep and bright as he smiled. "You've come early." After saying that, he touched his forehead, causing 2 dazzling absolute beginning symbols to fly out. The 2 absolute beginning symbols had thick time and metal auras. "I promised you to refine an absolute beginning original symbol. Here you are. Take them." The time original symbol turned into a jet of light, entering Montesi's eyes. Montesi's mesmerizing appearance slowly changed as the time reversed. She got shorter, her cascading hair shrank into her head, and her ample bosom turned smaller. After dozens of seconds, Montesi had returned to her 12-year-old little girl appearance. At the same time, her attainment in Power Upanishad had increased. Hero with the metal original symbol was like a sharp sword that could break the sky, carrying an invincible aura with his keen power. He was so thrilled that he could say nothing but "Thank you." Chapter 1577, Prevailing Trend. Chapter 1577, Prevailing Trend __. Yen stood up, his long, black hair reaching his waist. He had a majestic body, like a mountain accompanying his sculpted face, filled with an attractive masculine beauty. He grinned, asking, "How's the prevailing trend of this vast sea of stars?" Just quieted down, Meiji looked at him, her beautiful eyes fascinated. She chuckled and explained, "The war between 7 clans has stirred up the entire sea of stars. The smaller clans dependent on the 7 clans are also fighting. Death has cast its shadow on every territory as warriors are attacking each other in almost every life star. Everybody was emotional because of the brutal war in the universe." They didn't interfere, just letting Meiji continue her explanation. "We, the mysterious Sky Clan, the Whitebone Clan, and you guys cleared the lairs of the Soul Clan, Black Demon Clan, and Ancient Monster Clan. We've shared the properties they had accumulated over tens of thousands of years. After Rupert and Serene Prison came back to their ruined homelands, they went crazy. They gathered their forces in the other territories to fight against us. Too bad for them. At first, you massacred their clans and sealed a large number of their elite force in the Volcano Cloud Sea. Thus, they didn't have enough forces. The Soul Clan, Black Demon Clan, and Ancient Monster Clan were defeated constantly. Eventually, Serene Prison and Rupert knew that they didn't have the strength to reverse the situation. They took their remaining members and hid away. Even the Phantom Clan doesn't know where they are. So, you guys have shared the territories and star areas the Soul Clan, Ancient Monster Clan, and Black Demon Clan controlled." Yen squinted, looking at Han Tian, Hero, and Montesi. Han Tian laughed and didn't deny. "You guys took a large amount of cultivation materials from the Soul Clan, Black Demon Clan, and Ancient Monster Clan. We didn't ask for a bigger share. You guys got the right to choose first. At that time, we did say that we had to get more benefits later." Hero added timely, "Your foundation isn't big enough, and you don't have a large population either. Even if you placed your hands on those territories, you wouldn't be able to keep them." Yen nodded, waving his hand. "Never mind, we know our competence." "Yeah, at this moment, they're not capable of gaining more. Continue. How about the Devouring Clan?" Hearing that, the people pulled a stern face. Among the 4 clans, the Devouring Clan bore the least damage. While we were fighting in Volcano Cloud Sea, Devour didn't stay idle. He had furiously swallowed billions of creatures on empty land, which is now a dead area. No creature survived there. Meiji's face was cold. Its madness hadn't stopped there. It went to the Sea of Annihilation, covering the place. So many races and creatures in the Sea of Annihilation were cleared in the same manner. The Sea of Annihilation now deserves its name, totally annihilated. Mentioning the absolute beginning creature devour, they didn't have a relaxed countenance. Hero and Han Tian also put on a solemn face as they considered Devour a great danger. After slaughtering the empty land and the Sea of Annihilation, Devour quieted down. We got the news that it's staying in the Devouring clan's territory. It hasn't shown up after dozens of years, said Meiji. Shurien nodded. It's like me. After a frantic devouring time, we need to refine the energy and discharge the dregs. Otherwise, our soul would collapse, which would reduce our realm. I'm sure it has been refining energy during recent years. When it wakes up, it will be even more terrifying. Everybody had a heavy face as they were listening to him. Anyway, the Devouring clan doesn't have a relaxed life. Families and friends of the victims Devour had killed in Empty Land and the Sea of Annihilation are billions, scattered in many big territories in this sea of stars. They've gathered and attacked the Devouring clan several times. Meiji smiled coldly. We did join their operations, secretly. We've hit the Devouring clan hard and left them with a lot of heavy damages. They learned experience from the Soul clan, Ancient Monster clan, and Black Demon clan and have run away. We don't know where they are hiding right now. It's because Devour needs time to recover. It couldn't take action during the riots. Otherwise, you guys couldn't have forced them to retreat and seclude easily like that. Shurien furrowed his brows while talking. When it has recovered, of course, it will raise the storm again. At that time, not many existences can subdue it. Everybody sank into a silence. After several fierce battles, they knew how formidable the absolute beginning creatures, like Devour, Yuanzhu, and Ziyao were. They recognized that the absolute beginning creatures at the third sky of Territory Ancestor Realm were almost invincible. They also understood that because of Yuanzhu, the Soul clan, Black Demon clan, and Ancient Monster clan could hide away, and they couldn't find them in this dark outer space. Only Yuanzhu had the power and was cunning enough to conceal the three entire clans. Where is she? Meiji asked all of a sudden, but she didn't look at Shurien. Everybody was surprised watching the latter. Of course! Shurien knew who they were talking about. Ziyao had disappeared mysteriously for 30 years. Although the Phantom clan had an excellent intelligence system, such that they had ears and eyes in every corner of the universe, they had never spotted her. It actually scared them too. Ziyao was the absolute beginning creature called Hui, and her intimidation had been carved deep in their minds. Montesi, Hero, and Han Tian thought that Ziyao was the pillar, the existence that could resist Devour and Yuanzhu. They had to care about her ability to determine their direction in the future. They knew that no one in this dark universe could know about her condition besides Shurien. Just like Devour, she's trying her best to recover her energy. I have never asked or searched for her whereabouts. Shurien gave them a vague answer. Another one desolate. How is it doing? Han Tian pondered, his face respectful and scared. Recently, he hasn't made any move. Desolate territory has disappeared. Judy and I got through the Sea of Annihilation to get to the entrance. We wanted to intrude desolate territory to see. However, behind that entrance was just an endless void, as the desolate territory was gone. Judy looked frightened. Rumors say that he was the god of war in the absolute beginning era. He used to be the peerless expert of that time. His movement's important to us as well. Only you can feel his existence. How is he now? Everybody glued their eyes on Shurien. Shurien winced. After a while, he shook his head and said, I don't know. I can't feel his existence. As his power has recovered, I've gradually lost the connection with him. It seems like he has vanished from my soul sensing, but the pressure he gives me stays all the time. Taking a deep breath, Shi Yan hissed. He must be getting stronger. I'm sure I will have a chance to win in the battle with Yuan Zhu. But still, his pressure exists deep in my soul like a perpetual shadow. The only thing I can confirm is that he's much more dangerous than Yuan Zhu now. Everybody was shaken hard. They looked disbelievingly as a shadow began to cast over their hearts. Desolate, the god of war, was the strongest absolute beginning creature at the peak of Territory Ancestor Realm, just one step away from the utmost realm. Hui and Devour had joined hands to attack him, but they didn't win. The final battle of Absolute Beginning Era had ended with the dormancy of the three, which also announced the end of their era. It's good that you come here today. It could be a good chance to find Desolate, Shi Yan said after a while, his face earnest. What? Han Tian didn't get it. Follow me to Cloud Mist Territory. Help me cover that entire natural territory. I want to merge the Grace mainland into my absolute beginning body. Shi Yan hissed. Then he didn't wait for Han Tian's team to show their extreme fear as flows of souls flew out of his head, which looked identical to him. They glided fast above the new continent, which was called Heavenly Rock, finding Xian He, Ming Hao, Emperor Sea Shark, Audrey, De Carlos, and the others to send his message. Shortly, a hidden entrance opened up. Emperor Sea Shark, Ming Hao, and Xian He moved to that territory entrance, going to the Grace mainland inside Cloud Mist Territory. Billions of warriors and ordinary people living on the Grace mainland received the order to relocate. The warriors of the King God realm had to move to the Heavenly Rock continent in Sea Domain of Nihility, while ordinary people and warriors under the King God realm were relocated to the life stars around the Cloud Mist Territory. Deep in the thick mist of the Cloud Mist Territory, Shi Yan hovered like a god observing the Grace mainland and the leaders like Emperor Sea Shark, Xian He, and Ming Hao controlling the warriors and ordinary people to move to different planets. Gradually, creatures on the Grace mainland were delivered away. Shi Yan's soul consciousness stretched like billions of tentacles to check every corner of the Grace mainland in case they had missed some creatures or humans. Many massive cities, palaces, and buildings made of giant rock were plucked by the supernatural ability of the warriors. They floated up, moving to different continents. 30 years ago, Shi Yan had attracted the asteroids and broken planets to create the Heavenly Rock continent. It was the new home for the warriors from the Grace mainland. The Grace mainland was one of Desolate's parts, a big part for that matter. Shi Yan could feel that he could take and merge that body part into his absolute beginning body, making it a part of his. For 1/5 of Desolate's body, he had planned over so many years, and today the time had finally come. Chapter 1578. Head to the Holy Land. Chapter 1578. Head to the Holy Land. Underscore the eternal sealed area created by Shi Yan and Montesi, Volcano Cloud Sea. Many warriors were scattered outside the amber sealed area. Some were discharging dregs in their bodies, while others were trying to learn the power Upanishads. Also, there were visitors traveling to this place just to watch the experts of the 4 clans who were sealed like fossils inside the amber. This place had become a wonder of the Sea Domain of Nihility, a miracle that attracted many experts to come and behold. Inside that eternal seal, Beverly was beautiful with her snake body. She was really outstanding in the middle of tens of thousands other warriors. People came, watching and pointing at her. She's Beverly, one of the 10 great territory ancestors. She was the master of the ancient demon clan. Too bad that she has been sealed here for more than 30 years. This land could seal one of the 10 great territory ancestors. Of course, it attracted a lot of eyes. Except for that, this place had more magical features. At first, when someone cultivated outside, they found that time seemed to go slower, although they felt that they had been there and cultivated for 100 years. only a little more than 10 years passed in reality. Around the Eternal Seal area, time flew disorderly, and it seemed to be slightly held. To some people that didn't have long lifespans, this place was the best place to cultivate. They could spend a dozen years to exchange for 100 years of accumulating energy and comprehending their realm. What was better than this? That's why many warriors around couldn't help but gather around the outer edge of this sealed area to cultivate. It was how they saved their time. The seal was so vast, and the peripheral area seemed almost endless. Thus, even if tens of thousands of warriors were cultivating here at the same time, they wouldn't disturb each other. Especially for the warriors cultivating time and space power Upanishads. They didn't mind the long distance to come to this place. They had crossed many territories to come here as if it was the best pilgrimage in their lives. To them, this place was a real holy land. This magical land was created by the power of time and space, and it casted an eternal seal. It could guide them and provide them with a place to observe and learn the mysteries of time and space power Upanishads. Many men and women cultivating space and time power Upanishads came as they knew Shuryen and Montesi had magically cast this wonder by combining their power Upanishads. During their cultivation, many of them had become husbands and wives. It had somehow become a romantic legend. In a remote corner, a man shrouded in a jet-black robe was standing. He hovered like a ghost. The hood of his robe concealed his face. From a distance, he was watching the sealed area. Observing Beverly for a while, he stooped and sighed. After a long time, another figure came. He looked imposing with thick demon chi meandering around his body, which also hid his appearance. He came to the ghost in a black robe and hissed, "Brother Serene Prison." The thick demon chi dispersed, and it revealed Rupert's handsome but severe face. He looked at Beverly, his face complicated. The man put back the hood on his head. He was Serene Prison. Deep in his dark eyes, a flame of anger burned. "We've been fighting for 30 years. We are worn out. After the ancient demon clan lost Beverly, it was divided. They don't have the power to resist anymore. Our two clans have been defeated continuously. We're dispirited. All is because of this seal. It confines our elite force. If not, how could we be so pathetic like this?" Rupert said with a dark face, "I've been here for 3 years, and I've tried so many ways. I even sent my soul to the seal." Serene Prison wore an ashen face as he shook his head and said desperately, "It's so evil. That seal prevents even the soul. My soul consciousness couldn't intrude. If we can't break this seal, our elite force can't get out. We will have to live like turtles. We won't dare to fight Han Tian and Hero. They'd killed millions of our warriors in our homelands. They plundered all the properties we accumulated for tens of thousands of years." Rupert's eyes had a spooky flame of wrath as he spoke through his gritted teeth. "I must take revenge on them. The glory of our Black Demon Clan, the faith that we have held high for tens of thousands of years, can't be erased in my hands. The Soul Clan will not decline in my hands, either." Serene Prison hissed. Slash, slash, slash. Sloshing water arose when a black stream zoomed in from a far distance. A figure slowly materialized in the black water. It was Yuan Zhu in his human form. He came to Serene Prison and Rupert and said, "Don't worry. Your clans won't decline. As long as you can reach third sky of territory ancestor realm, we can overturn everything in just a blink of an eye." Third sky of territory ancestor realm? That's easier said than done. Serene Prison wore a bitter face. "Your chance is right in front of you. I have news from Sauron. He said that the absolute beginning gateway is changing more. It's about to open. During our absolute beginning era, it never had any commotion. It holds the last riddle of earth and heaven. We tried everything, but we couldn't open it that year. But now it's obvious that the gateway is about to open. Rupert and Serene Prison's eyes brightened when they heard that. Belonging to the most prominent group in this universe, they had chances to talk to Sauron. Of course, they knew the meaning of the absolute beginning gateway. Actually, if the 7 clans didn't have that war, they would have been preparing to enter that door. The absolute beginning gateway can change everything. It can reverse your bad situations. Seeing that they were moved, Yuan Zhu tried to entice them. Your remaining fellows are safe now. I've hidden them away. Come with me to the absolute beginning gateway to slaughter Shur Yan's team. As long as we win the battle at the absolute beginning gateway, you guys can determine the future of this universe. What does Sauron think? Rupert asked all of a sudden. Serene Prison also pulled a stern face. Yeah, what is his attitude? I'm not sure, actually. Anyway, I think that because Sauron planned this for thousands of years, he must have accurate calculations. Yuan Zhu stooped to watch the sea of clouds under his feet. I always feel that the chaos in our universe is instigated by Sauron. Although this man is from the human clan, he's very smart. I can say that he's the strongest expert of this era. I can't see him through. He has his conspiracy, but no one can scheme the absolute beginning gateway. As long as you agree to help me, I'm sure your Soul Clan and Black Demon Clan will become the strongest clan in this world in the future. Who will come to the absolute beginning gateway besides us? Asked Serene Prison. Of course, Edgar and the Devouring Clan will join this. Recently, Devour has created so many calamities in Empty Land and the Sea of Annihilation to recover his power. He's preparing to go to the absolute beginning gateway. They will be a part of this. Yuan Zhu's eyes flared with evil lights. Han Tian, Montesi, Hero, Shur Yan, and ZY will form a party. They're the key. Since Shur Yan has the Power Upanishad symbol tower, Sauron will try every means he has to lure him there. Pausing for a while, Yuan Zhu said, Sauron and Zhen Ru have joined hands discreetly. This time, after Myriad-shaped tribe got damaged badly, they've retreated. Zhen Ru, of course, is on Sauron's side. As the one who planned all of these, Sauron is guarding the absolute beginning gateway. They are the most formidable party because Sauron knows a lot of things about the absolute beginning gateway. And who else? Asked Rupert. Yuan Zhu quieted down. After a long time, he wore a respectful face and said, I'm sure Desolate won't miss it. That year, he even used his intimidating power to attack the absolute beginning gateway directly. If he hadn't failed and got hurt severely, Hui and Devour couldn't have dismembered him and sent him into a coma like that. Is Desolate that fierce? Serene Prison was frightened. Yuan Zhu pulled a sour face and sighed. He can be much more terrifying than you think. Each era has its peerless warrior. Sauron of your era is a peak existence. He's invincible. In my time, Desolate was the sort of existence like Sauron. He's an invincible legend. All the creatures in my time had to live in his shadow. If we let him recover fully, I don't know who can fight him. At that time, he'll be the biggest variable. Sigh. Even though I know he was dormant in Desolate territory, I didn't dare to get there and fuse with him. Rupert and Serene Prison exchanged looks. They understood that Yuan Zhu had an instinctive fear for Desolate, which made their hearts heavier because they hadn't thought about Desolate much. If we can save Beverly, we will have a greater chance. Do you have any strategy? Serene Prison looked at Yuan Zhu. Before you came, I've tried many times. It would be a miracle if we break this time and space seal. Yuan Zhu shook his head reluctantly. If I could, I would have done it already. We should have seized time when we could to prepare for the battle at the absolute beginning gateway. What do we need to prepare? Serene Prison was surprised. In the absolute beginning era, I didn't join the last battle. I was hiding at that time. It's the only absolute beginning land that has been preserved perfectly until now. I've hidden it. No one knows where it is. It still has some good things from the absolute beginning era that you can use to enhance your power, smiled Yuanzu. Serene prisons and Rupert's eyes brightened. Follow me. Before Sauron contacts me, we must accumulate energy for the last battle. Yuanzu stepped on the Black River and headed towards the dark void. You guys shouldn't think too much about your clan in a harsh condition. You should know this. As soon as we can harvest something in the absolute beginning gateway, it will be much more than what we used to have. Chapter 1579 Smelting. Chapter 1579 Smelting. Flows of terrifying aura emitted from cloud, mist territory, hovered in the air and shook every soul in this territory. Many people were relocated to Heavenly Rock Continent or the other life stars around from the former holy land of Cloud Tribe. The experts like Ming Hao, Xian He, Emperor Sea Shark, Sha Zhao, Shang Chen, and the others were working unceasingly to help their fellows moving out of this place. In the misty sea of clouds, Hero, Han Tian, Judy, and Montesi were watching Grace Mainland and discussing in low voices. On Grace Mainland, Shi Yan was like an ancient demogorgon as he appeared in his absolute beginning body. The fierce, overbearing aura that was emitted made every creature shiver in fear. Shi Yan's absolute beginning body was like a massive shadow cast over Grace Mainland that covered all the light from the sky. His body was like a colossal mountain. The suns, moons, and stars sparkled in his eyes, which were deep and twinkling like the immense universe. His iron-like body was covered in thick scale armor, which was naturally connected to his skins and flesh. Bone spikes grew from his bones like so many sharp swords and flashed coldly. What an amazing, absolute beginning body. The immense quantity of his blood qi has shaken everyone's soul, said Gay of the Whitebone clan as he was eyeing Shi Yan's body. It's the real absolute beginning body. Sigh, I'm far behind this. Forefather Dragon Lizard sounded emotional. When the last group of mortals left the place, Ming Hao, Xian He, and Frederick sent the soul message to Shi Yan and reported to him that no creature was left on Grace Mainland. Many cities, countries, and mountains of pellets and materials were teleported away from Grace Mainland by the experts' supernatural abilities. At this moment, Grace Mainland was vast with forests and rivers scattered like blood veins everywhere. However, there was no creature and no sign of a country or life. However, looking at this life star, no one would have thought that it was barren, as they all felt the immense and vigorous energy on this planet. The energy fluctuations here were so powerful. All warriors of Cloud Mist territory were arranged to stay pretty far away from this area. They couldn't see Shi Yan's giant figure. While I'm melting Grace Mainland, you guys seal the entire territory. Don't let any soul consciousness intrude. Shi Yan hovered above the continent, his voice like thunderclaps. Hero, Han Tian, and the others nodded. Shi Yan didn't say more. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. His beautiful, colossal soul altar arose from his head like an unfolding roll of picture. Underneath the borderless sea of consciousness emitted the energy that could cover the entire world. The soul pond in the center wasn't small anymore, the crystal, clear soul energy murmuring. The tier of Power Upanishad was above the sea of consciousness with the space imprint that was like a prism. The star imprint was like a galaxy, the life imprint was like a light ball, and the devouring imprint was like a black hole. The 8 evil powers appeared as the 8 islands. The space above that tier was a chaotic area, which was Shi Yan's territory. That territory seemed to be concealed by a block of blurry air, which hindered people from seeing what was inside. However, when they used their souls to sense, they felt an infinitely mysterious feeling, as if their souls had just touched a window to another universe. They felt that they had sensed the magical power of creation. Everybody exchanged looks. They couldn't hide the fear on their faces. They knew Shi Yan's territory was magical with endless secrets. The two identical souls, which looked like Shiryan's real body, hovered above the chaotic territory. They were like twins. The soul mist emitted from them and gathered by the chaotic territory. Among the two souls, the host soul looked blurry, and it had the same shade with the turbulent territory. The power Upanishad symbol tower floated above the co-soul and slowly moved as if it would never cease. It was strange to the eyes indeed. As the experts were watching him, Shi Yin closed his eyes. However, his host soul's eyes still opened. The light in his eyes shot like meteors toward Grace Mainland. All of a sudden, a 5-colored sea of flames emerged from under the co-soul. That sea of flames had auras of the flames from the origin. It expanded and flew out of the soul altar, aimed at Grace Mainland. Boom! Shortly after, the entire Grace Mainland was covered in the 5-colored flame sea. The auras of the heaven flames merged with Shiryan's soul energy and soul consciousness, shrouding the entire continent. Magically, the heaven flames were burning Grace Mainland. However, they didn't burn the forest, crack the ground, or dry the seas. Although it was so scorching that Judy, Han Tian, and the others could feel the terrifying heat, it didn't destroy the natural landscapes of the continent. The sea of flames had turned Grace Mainland into a massive, burning globe. The horrible flames shot out everywhere and burned the void. The surrounding temperature rocketed. DeCarlos, Adels, and the other low-realm experts couldn't resist the heat waves. They had to move backward and hover far from the scene. Seal the territory. Shiryan's soul message filled the entire territory and made all the experts in this place receive it. Han Tian, Hero, and Montesi exchanged looks. They immediately took action, strengthening all the territory barriers and concealing the territory entirely. No wisp of soul consciousness could intrude this territory. You're a little wanton. If you want a refined Desolate's clone, you should tell me first. Right when they were about to take action, Ziyao's voice came from deep in the sea of clouds underneath. You're lucky that I got it when you started. Yeah, I'm here to help. Even if Desolate knows what you want to do now, he can't affect you. Everybody was stunned, and they all looked at the clouds under their feet. Ziyao, who had disappeared for years, slowly emerged from mist territory underneath. She was still dazzlingly gorgeous. At this moment, the light in her eyes was so terrifying. During the recent 10 years, she had cultivated ascetically in mist territory under cloud mist territory. Cloud mist territory was formed by cloud territory and mist territory. The layers of clouds supported cloud territory, while the continent down there was mist territory. Walking out from mist territory, Ziyao gave a faint smile as the snake mark on her forehead vibrated strangely. Shortly after, billions of 7-color divine light bands turned into countless snakes with consciousness expanded to the entire territory and guarding every barrier. The entire cloud mist territory had become brilliant with so many colors. It looked like millions of fireworks exploded at the same time. The scene was so beautiful that it made people feel they were dreaming. 7-colored halos appeared and covered the entire territory, sinking each planet of this territory in rainbow bands and auspicious clouds. It was strikingly marvelous indeed, just like a miracle. Han Tian, Hero, Montesi, and the others could feel the changes of the territory and the intimidating energy released by Ziyao alone. They were all frightened. Soon, they recognized that after 30 years staying silent, Ziyao was much stronger than she used to be in the battle against Yuan Zhu in Volcano Cloud Sea. I know you won't stay idle down there. You can take action to help me in any minute. It seems like your power is almost recovered. Shiryan grinned and watched Ziyao floating up. If you weren't here, I wouldn't dare to do it so early. I would have waited until I reached third sky of territory ancestor realm to refine this clone of Desolate. Then why didn't you wait a little more? If you reach third sky of territory ancestor realm, even without me here, you can successfully melt his clone. It will reduce the risk to the lowest level, said Ziyao with a frown. He won't give me much more time. Sure, Yen pondered for a while, his eyes like a moving galaxy. He looked in a direction, his eyes piercing through all space barriers to reach the mysterious area. I can't feel his whereabouts, but the pressure he puts on me never subsided. I think he prepared well. He will come to me soon. I don't have much time left. Hearing him, Ziyao put on a stern face. She knew how bold Desolate was more than anyone else. Thus, she understood Sher Yan's worries. All right, do it now. We will join hands. I think we can stop his furious attack. Ziyao didn't dare to linger. As he wasn't here yet, he should have something he was afraid of. You should seize the chance and refine his body. If you can take this energy when you face him, you will have the power to counter. Her face turned solemn. She took a deep breath and then asked Hero, Han Tian, and Montesi, "Listen, go and guard the big barriers of this territory. Follow my lead to strengthen the barrier. Don't act alone. Otherwise, we can't promote and use your power to the acme. Hero, you go east, using the metal power to increase the thickness of the barrier. Use the metal rocks of the 3 continents around to create a metal wall. Han Tian, go south. It's a burning area with so many volcanoes. It's suitable for your power to be maximized there. Remember to gather all of your energy to control the surrounding flames and create a sea of fire. Whenever you spot a wisp of intruding soul consciousness, tell me immediately. Don't attack it." Ziyao wasn't trying to be polite. She ordered Hero, Han Tian, Montesi, Judy, Forefather Dragon Lizard, Gay, Dracula, and Meiji to guard different locations where there might be not enough defense. They had to use their different powers to strengthen the defense. To prevent Desolate's interruption, she was more cautious than ever. She didn't look at ease as when she faced Yuanzhu. Han Tian's group trusted her competence. No one offended her assignment. All acted as they were told. They immediately dashed away to different areas as she assigned them to use their energy to guide the natural forces and strengthen the barrier. After a while, Ziyao turned to Sher Yan and hissed, "You can start now." Chapter 1580, Soul Attack. Chapter 1580, Soul Attack. Underscore billions of 5-colored flames moved with their own consciousness outside the Grace mainland. The Grace mainland was now a massive burning globe that was pulled out of the holy land of the Cloud Tribe. The warriors around could see it clearly. Many warriors from different clans were watching the event from very far away. Still, they could feel the heat and the changing of their territory. The weather in Cloud Mist territory was a little cool, like the perpetual autumn. It never felt as hot as a normal summer here. At this moment, as the massive fireball was hung up, the temperature of the entire territory rose. The warriors living in this territory felt like they were living on a sunny day. They used their soul to sense and then float up in the sky to observe. They saw a massive fireball float up from the Cloud Tribe's holy land. It continuously radiated dazzling light and scorching heat. It naturally attracted many experts. Right after that, they saw the 7-colored divine light cover the entire Cloud Mist territory. The area was blooming beautifully and brilliantly. They recognized that this territory changed greatly. Many people proactively gathered by Ming, Hao, and Shenhe. They wanted to know what was going on over there. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Billions of magnificent lights shot out from Ziyao's graceful body and zoomed everywhere. Those bands of light locked the entire sky as if they were an extremely large net in the sky. No warrior or creature could intrude this area. As Grace mainland was still rising, the flames burned more fiercely. Sher Yan let his soul alter emergency, both of his souls gazing at the continent. Break! Sure Yan's host soul sent a thought that connected to his absolute beginning body and created a giant cross saber. That sharp saber then dashed toward Grace Mainland. Crack! 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 Grace Mainland crackled fiercely. The giant fireball was torn apart, and it released immense, thick energy. However, at this moment, Shurian's co-soul suddenly flew up and turned into a jet of light that entered the big crack on the continent to reach its nucleus. Shurian's soul, Alter, returned to his head. The savage, absolute beginning body suddenly had furious and intimidating energy. His muscles bulged like mountains. Suns, moons, and stars moved in his eyes, and energy gathered on his hands. It looked like he was holding a brilliant galaxy in his hands with so many twinkling stars. The mysterious, complicated starlight fell on the burning globe right after that. Boom! 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 Waves of energy rippled. Shurian's giant, absolute beginning body grew bigger. He was now even more terrifying than the suns or moons. His colossal body suddenly lay down deep in the sea of clouds. His hands gestured and guided so many galaxies. The starlight materialized into chains and shackled Grace Mainland, pulling it toward his chest. The onlookers then pulled themselves together to watch the event, their faces in disbelief. Many low-realm, shallow warriors couldn't help but scream. Grace Mainland was now on Sure Yan's chest like a fire rubber ball. Compared to his body, it was so small that Sure Yan could hold it. It looked like he was holding a burning ball, which was really incredible to the eyes. While the others were watching him in fear, Sure Yan used both hands to clutch that burning planet. The surging energy in his body was like a flood breaking the dam that frantically gushed into the center of the planet. Although the continent was burning, the water in the endless sea didn't evaporate. From an extinct volcano in the heavenly monster mountain range, the Origin's magical energy emerged. Sure Yan's co-soul flew and got in there to enter the deepest location of the planet to explore the place contained the Origin. The core of Grace Mainland was a wonderful land with dazzling starlight and thick earth and heaven energy. This place had so many mountains connected to each other as if they didn't have an end. That long mountain range suddenly began to move unknowingly. At first glance, it was like a dragon lying on the ground. At this moment, the dragon was wiggling frighteningly. That unceasing mountain range became lively, like a living creature or a part of a giant creature that was still dormant. Because of the massive change on the surface of the planet and the heavenly flame stimulation, this body part awakened. It began to twist as its instinct was to unite with the body. It was like the case of Ziyao snakes. No matter how long they slept or wherever they were, when they woke up, their instinct was to guide them back to Ziyao, the master. It was a basic instinct that no one could erase. At this moment, the mountain range twisted and wiggled, trying to escape this area to unite with the host body. Swish! All of a sudden, Sure Yan's co-soul appeared. He watched the extremely long mountain range and released the energy of the Origin. This sort of energy made Desolate's part feel familiar. The wiggling part slowly calmed down. At the same time, by the barriers of cloud mist territory, earth-destroying energy barged in. The angry roar from the dawn of this world crossed the borderless spaces to hit on that space barrier. Boom! Hero of the White Bone Clan had cast a metal sea right there after gathering the metal energy from the 3 adjacent planets. He had created a barrier outside the territory wall. At this moment, as his barrier was impacted, a massive flow of energy from the wild beast violently hit the barrier and sent Hero away. Hero's bone body was as beautiful as crystal, flawless white gems. However, after that attack, his magnificent jade-like body had so many hairline cracks. He discolored in fear and watched the metal sea bewildered. He was horror-struck indeed. He got it. Right at this moment, Ziyao screamed as if she was facing her arch enemy. Billions of light bands shot from her body and turned into beautiful cotton clouds covering Hero. Rivers of divine lights flew towards and supported Hero to deal with Desolate's attack. All the experts gathered in Cloud Mist territory, including Montesi, Han Tian, Judy, Dragon Lizard, Meiji, and Gay Discolored, their faces extremely stern. They saw the cracks on Hero's body. Among the 7 clans, the White Bone clan had a tenacious body that was actually extreme. It was the closest to the absolute beginning body. Hero was at second sky of territory ancestor realm, but his body was cracked after just a hit. How intimidating and fierce was it? We're so many spaces away, and he doesn't know space power Upanishad. I'm sure he can't appear here with his body. However, he can track down the coordinates of his soul clones. He can use his soul power, soul consciousness, and God power to barge into the territory space barrier. He won't allow Shi Yen to melt his body. He'll attack us furiously. Get yourself together. We must try our best to defend, screamed Ziyao. Billions of rainbow bands shot out from her eyes and reached where Hero was protecting to mend it. Rumble, rumble. Another wave of brutal impact shelled on that barrier and deformed it like when a hammer pounded on a rubber ball. Without the divine light energy strengthening and mending the barrier, that territory barrier was going to break shortly, which would allow Desolate's soul consciousness and soul energy to enter Cloud Mist territory and kill Shi Yen. Ziyao turned into a jet of divine light and tried her best to protect that section of the barrier. She released so many bands of divine lights to resist Desolate's power. As Han Tian and the others saw the situation, they hurried to go there and help Ziyao. Ziyao yelled hastily, "Protect your spots! Do not leave your positions." He's using dark energy to attack. He can aim at any section of the territory barrier. Take care of your section. Do not come here. Her voice woke them up. They didn't dare to leave their spots, but gathered their God power and released their best abilities to create and strengthen their barriers. Hero getting hit hard made them not look down on Desolate anymore. Although his body wasn't here, he had used his soul power to attack Hero. Hero's body almost exploded. Desolate's competence was beyond Yuan Zhu. Thump, thump. Forefather Dragon Lizard's heart beat frantically. He drove the lava from a volcano underneath. Sending his soul consciousness to the lava, he made it a burning barrier to improve his section of the barrier. From his ancestor Lizard's memories, he knew about Desolate's power vaguely. He didn't dare to relax anyway. He had accumulated all energy to resist Desolate's impact. All of a sudden, his body shook hard. He looked at the space barrier by him and felt like he was watching a strange sea with many power Upanishads moving around. It was a sea with so many jets of light weaving with each other. If Shi Yen was here, he would have known that it was the fountainhead of power Upanishads. He had to use the heaven flames as the key to enter a long time ago. At this moment, that fountainhead of power Upanishads appeared in the void and attracted Forefather Dragon Lizard. Forefather Dragon's consciousness became blurry as his soul was about to be sucked and attracted to that fountainhead to search the ultimate features of power Upanishads. Don't get in there. However, at this moment, Audrey's cold voice arose, which was like a sharp sword that thrusted into Forefather Dragon Lizard's head. He felt a twinge in his nerves that made him sober instantly. He was frightened as he knew that his soul was intruded. He had almost destroyed himself. Boom, boom, boom. 3 horrible impacts came from the space barrier. 3 flows of furious energy broke the lava barrier. Although they were subsided getting through the burning barrier, they still made their way to hit Dragon Lizard. Just like Hero, Forefather Dragon Lizard was like a rubber ball kicked far away. He rolled toward the deep clouds and bled terribly. Chapter 1581, The Consciousness Arrives. Chapter 1581, The Consciousness Arrives. Thump, 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 thump. Loud explosions came from deep in the sky and suppressed all creatures in cloud mist territory as they thought that their skies were about to fall. By the barriers of cloud mist territory, Hero, Han Tian, and Montesi were trying their best to resist the attack, their countenances solemn. Han Tian raised his hand and grabbed something. The earth core flames from the continent underneath turned into massive fire dragons. He got them in his hands and placed them on the space barriers. So many fire dragons emitted scorching energy to increase the power of the space barrier. As the barrier was attacked continuously, Han Tian's soul altar had to spin fast to counter. He became a man of fire. Flames covered his body with thick smokes. He sat in the middle of a sea of fire and used the fire waves to resist the impacts on the barrier. Montesi and Meiji weren't far from each other. At this moment, Montesi had already appeared like a little girl. She had built a time barrier and tried to stagnate time. Once the barrier broke, it would recover shortly as time reversed. It was how she stabilized this area. Hero, Judy, Gay, and Dracula scattered and protected the other sections of the space barrier. They had cast different barriers to protect the territory barrier here. They understood clearly that once the territory barrier was torn, cloud mist territory would become defenseless, which would allow Desolate's power and soul consciousness to seep into the territory. Yao had to work a lot. She became a source of light as billions of colorful light bands radiated from her graceful body and created a mysterious, brilliant net that tied the void and confined the barriers in the sky. Once a section got cracked from an attack, she would come and use her god power to mend it. Ming Hao, Xian He, and the others gathered in another area. They lifted their heads to watch Shi Yan using his absolute beginning body. At this moment, he was a giant holding Grace mainland with both hands to send his energy into it. As they were observing him, they all looked seriously earnest. As their realms weren't high enough, they couldn't help Shi Yan. Moreover, since they came from desolate territory, their souls had Desolate's imprint. If they came there, Desolate could have a chance to possess their body using his consciousness. The experts of the mysterious Sky Clan, Whitebone Clan, Phantom Clan, and Ziyao were cooperating in sealing the entire sky to resist Desolate's soul attack. After so many waves of attack, the barrier that looked as if it could break soon hadn't exploded yet. Apparently, Han Tian and the others couldn't relax. They all sweated and paled. Some of their bodies began to shrivel as they had used a lot of energy, and some even got hurt. Shi Yan, in his absolute beginning body, was holding the flaming continent in his hands. Suns, moons, and stars were moving in his eyes as he was pouring thick energy into the continent. Slowly, the heaven flames covering the continent became streams of fire that entered the core of the continent. Shortly after, all the flames on the continent disappeared. A powerful wave of original energy shot out from the inside of Grace mainland. In this world, flames fell from the sky and congregated underneath Shi Yan's co-soul. At this moment, Shi Yan's co-soul had something hovering above his head while he stepped on the sea of original flames. His eyes projected a body part like a mountain range. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. So many flames gathered and created a massive hand with soul consciousness. Shi Yan's soul appeared in that hand when it grabbed Desolate's body part. The world in this continent collapsed like a shattering mirror. Twisted lights shot everywhere. Boom, boom, boom. Earth-destroying energy waves gushed from Grace mainland. Instantly, terrifying earthquakes occurred on the entire Grace mainland. Mountains caved in. Rivers and seas disappeared into the earth. The thick earth and heaven energy materialized into ivory smokes and mist. From every corner of the continent, wisps of energy seeped into the ground and reached that collapsing subterranean world. Xian He, Ming Hao, and the others felt the great changes of the world. They were horror-struck when they observed Grace Mainland. Strangely, that large continent was shrinking little by little. It was like a deflating balloon that slowly withered and reduced in its size. Grace Mainland was disappearing. From this point, Shi Yan's refining progress officially started. He used his soul energy and vitality to shroud the entire continent to refine Desolate's body part inside. Even though they were too far away from each other, Desolate could feel that the refining process had begun. The impacts on Cloud Mist Territory's territory barriers became more furious. Explosions reverberated in the sky and made many low-realm warriors collapse. Many of them bled, and some of their souls perished directly. Forefather Dragon Lizard, Hero, Gay, and many people got hurt. Blood trickled the corners of their mouths. They all looked exhausted. They were filled with fear. They could never have imagined that Desolate would use Shi Yan as the precise coordinates to send his soul energy from almost an endless distance. He had attacked them heavily, though. They could imagine that when Desolate came with his real body, he could level the entire Cloud Mist territory shortly. They finally understood that Desolate, the god of war in Absolute Beginning Era, was actually invincible in his era. Yuanzi Yao was nothing compared to him, though. Yuanzu needed a lot of time to cultivate to reach such terrifying pressure that made even the soul shiver. "Are you okay?" Audrey looked at Forefather Dragon Lizard in his real form with so many wounds. She couldn't help but scream when he bled terribly from his body. Forefather Dragon Lizard was in his true form and rolling in the burning lava. He spurted furious flood of energy to the barrier, and his barrier section had become vividly red with his dry and scorching power. However, whenever his red barrier received a hit, his body had more open wounds. "I'm okay. I can resist for a while. He's so terrifying." Forefather Dragon Lizard panted and shouted while his giant body rolled around in the lava to let his blood merge with lava. He didn't fall anyway. "Get out here." Zi Yao's shout came from a deep place in the void. A purple that emerged from her head and ballooned into a brilliant world. Her 12-headed snake body came from that world of divine light. Shortly after, the 12-headed snake parted into 12 individual snakes and swam towards different sections of Cloud Mist Territory. All the experts and mortals of Cloud Mist Territory could see 12 seven-colored snakes moving in the sky. The snakes looked like dragons that were tens of thousands of miles long. They parted the sea of clouds and then disappeared. At the same time, a divine aura bloomed in the sky with billions of rainbows bands and created a magnificent scene. This scene was carved deep in their souls, and they were never going to forget it. Zi Yao showed her real body. The bodies of the 12 snakes came to strengthen the sections of barriers that were about to collapse. Seeing Zi Yao urge her complete power, the others riskily urged their powers and their best supernatural abilities. For the time being, many experts of Cloud Mist Territory could feel the earth-shaking auras hovering in the skies. It seemed like all the peerless existences in this vast sea of stars had come and fought in their Cloud Mist Territory. During this time, Grace Mainland was refined. At this moment, Shi Yan had shrunk it and made it 1/3 of its original size. Almost done. Audrey mumbled. She clutched the hem of her clothes, her face anxious and restless. Sizzle, sizzle. Jets of starlight came from the barrier near her. All of a sudden, a shooting light thrust into her head from her left. Audrey's eyes went dimmer, her face blank. This strange condition lasted for a few seconds. After several seconds, Audrey pulled a cold face, her entire body emitting a gloomy and sinister aura. She stepped towards Forefather Dragon Lizard, where the blazing lava was burning. Deep in her eyes was a coldness, as if she had become a complete stranger. The soul refining cauldron she got from Neptune flew up. The absolute beginning symbols wiggled, while so many ghosts and departed souls crazily attacked Forefather Dragon Lizard. Forefather Dragon Lizard was concentrating on the barrier with all his might. He wasn't vigilant at all. When he could react, so many ghosts had already intruded his body through the open wounds. A flow of chilled-to-bone energy expanded and filled Forefather Dragon Lizard's body instantly. He crouched and roared in agony. In the void, Ziyao immediately noticed this area. After first glance, Ziyao was shaken hard. Her face changed drastically. She turned into a jet of light and zoomed over. "I've underestimated you." Audrey used to have the origin of God-blessed mainland. Although her origin was extracted, she still had its aura. To Desolate, it wasn't easy to cross spaces and occupy anybody. However, Audrey was an exception. No matter how hard Audrey had changed, she couldn't erase the origin's aura completely. Following that familiar aura, Desolate's consciousness seeped into her body magically and seized the control of Audrey's soul. It possessed her easily. At this moment, Audrey became part of Desolate. He had occupied her body, soul altar, and power. "How many years has it been? We finally meet. You still make people sick of you." Seeing Ziyao, Desolate, in Audrey's body sneered. "In our time, if you and Devour hadn't hindered me, I would have broken the absolute beginning gateway without the key. You messed up everything, let alone opening the absolute beginning gateway. You even dismembered me and put me in a coma." Chapter 1582. The Territory Shatters. Chapter 1582. The Territory Shatters. A wisp of Desolate's soul had occupied Audrey's body to come to this territory. Ziyao had to face her arch enemy. Shortly, Forefather Dragon Lizard recognized the wrong situation. He used his soul to call for Montesi, Hero, and Han Tian to help. Ziyao was startled when she saw Forefather Dragon Lizard move. She immediately stopped him. "Don't leave your positions. His soul energy can pierce through any section to get here. Secure your spots." Ziyao's shout awakened people. While watching this area, they continued to pump their energy into their barriers to secure the section they were defending. After Desolate's soul got into Audrey's body, Audrey's cold face twisted and became vague. From Audrey's body as the source of power, Desolate looked at Shi Yan in the distance. He opened his mouth to say something as if he was sleep-talking. Absolute beginning seals flashed and arrayed by his body instantly like spirits, portraying an ancient absolute beginning formation. Not far from him, Shi Yan in his absolute beginning body was holding grace, mainland, and trying to refine it. All of a sudden, the co-soul, which was actually the grace mainland's origin, sent him fierce vibes. The connection between Shi Yan's co-soul and host soul was cut off instantly. Grace mainland flew out of his hand and turned into a blinding light, zooming towards Desolate. "Do you think that you can refine my soul clone and body clone that easily? Too innocent." Desolate smirked coldly. Brutal souls emitted from him. The territory soul that Audrey got from the Soul Clan, hidden in the soul refining cauldron, had turned into a jet of black light and entered her soul altar. Swish! Swish! Clear noises arose from Audrey's soul altar. That territory soul was refined shortly and turned into a little soul pond situated in Audrey's sea of consciousness, which looked like the world of departed souls. Shortly after, Audrey's realm increased, her god power ancient tree thriving. "You're worth the soul form that my clone chose. What an extraordinary innate talent. She even has a divine weapon. Excellent." Desolate nodded indifferently. The soul refining cauldron sudden emerged and hovered in the void. The crying and wailing of billions of souls resounded. Only I can use the real power of this absolute beginning divine weapon. He turned to Zi Yao and asked calmly, "Don't you agree?" Zi Yao felt a cold current churn in her heart. She thought that it was just a wisp of desolate soul, so it couldn't raise a storm in cloud mist territory. But now she understood that whenever and wherever, she should never underestimate the absolute beginning god of war. Audrey had only a mortal realm, and she was far away from territory ancestor realm. If Desolate occupied her body, he could at most use the power of the peak of a mortal realm only. As Desolate was limited by Audrey's realm and power, he couldn't really threaten Zi Yao. That's what Zi Yao had assumed. But now Zi Yao knew she was wrong. With the territory soul from the Soul Clan, Audrey planned to use it to advance to territory ancestor realm after she reached third sky of a mortal realm. She hadn't used it because she knew that her time hadn't come yet. In fact, Audrey hadn't reached the level to refine the territory soul. However, when Desolate took her soul, she changed. At this moment, as Desolate controlled her soul altar, with his realm and superb knowledge, it was effortless to refine a territory soul. Shortly after, that territory soul had merged with Audrey's soul altar and turned into a soul pond. After absorbing the territory soul, Audrey's power had reached a brand new level. Moreover, Audrey had the soul refining cauldron, which was an absolute beginning divine weapon containing so many brutal sounds. Audrey wasn't able to use the real power of this cauldron. But Desolate could. As Desolate was talking, billions of souls flew out of the soul refining cauldron. Desolate controlled them and made hundreds of netherworld dragons. Those netherworld dragons were pit black with scale armor and green eyes. Their entire bodies were filled with cold, yin energy. They screamed, howled, and attacked Zi Yao. Each of the monstrous netherworld dragons was made of millions of brutal souls and ghosts. Their evilest auras magically merged into one column. This soul suppression covered the entire world and made Zi Yao discolor in fear. Bands of divine lights in the sky moved like a rapid waterfall and fell from the 9 tiers of the sky. The heavenly snakes spurted divine, rainbow lights and destroyed the monstrous netherworld dragon. Well, it's not good that there are so few brutal souls in this cauldron. If it gets a sacred absolute beginning soul, the soul refining cauldron will increase 1 level, said Desolate. He didn't look at Zi Yao but Grace Mainland, which was flying towards him. He said indifferently, "My soul clone and body part can merge with this little girl too. Afterward, she will have decent power to fight you, Hui." Grace Mainland turned into a dazzling jet of light and shot towards Audrey. Shi Yan was bewildered for a few seconds and then roared terrifyingly. In his roaring, Shi Yan's eyes turned crimson like blood as he urged his power Upanishad to the acme. Swoosh! Swoosh! The black holes emerged in the sky of cloud mist territory. Each of them was several hundred mu large with evil, brutal energy. Shortly after, the devouring black holes merged with each other and became a horribly large black hole that could swallow the world. It lowered above Audrey's head. The ultimate devouring power emitted from the black hole and hovered above Audrey. Audrey's soul altar was forcefully sucked out and emerged above her head. Her host soul in her soul altar, a world of souls, suddenly transformed into the cold and harsh appearance of Ghost Hunter, which was the human clone he used to have. He lay on Audrey's soul altar, but that soul altar was too dark to see what it contained. Looking at the black hole spinning frantically above his head, his face was cold and calm. Devour used his devouring power, Upanishad, to fight me, but he couldn't swallow me. Do you think you can? Unfortunately, to deal with me, he had impart part of his power, Upanishad, to Bloodthirsty, which made Bloodthirsty's intimidation. That power Upanishad is now with you, you and him. Unless you two merge into one, Your devouring power Upanishad and the 8 evil power Upanishads can't do anything to me. While Desolate was talking, Grace Mainland was about to merge with his wisp of a soul. The energy fluctuated from his body, and so many absolute beginning seals in the sky were irresistible to Grace Mainland. Grace Mainland and the soul in there were his parts. While he was dormant, his soul clone and body could have their own consciousness. However, as he had recovered, the power of his soul clone in Shuryan's body couldn't suppress his soul energy anymore. Stars fall. The beautiful Skyfall star river emerged and became a band of a brilliant galaxy. Following Shuryan's order, the stars in the sky fell torrentially like gems. They all aimed at Desolate's soul wisp. Skyfall star river. Desolate smirked. I killed its previous owner. How can it attack me? Rumble, rumble, rumble. Furious energy attacks bombarded the territory barriers 10 times stronger. Forefather dragon, lizard, couldn't endure it anymore and fell from the sky with so many wounds. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, the section he was guarding exploded. Flood of energy deluged torrentially and created a world-towering ancient tree. That tree seemed to be able to connect to earth and heaven. The tree had pierced through the territory barrier up there. Billions of branches jutted lushly. So many branches and leaves with thick vitality attacked the planets in cloud, mist territory rapidly. Explosions reverberated everywhere. The cloud mist territory skies were torn apart as lights bloomed and spaces exploded. This territory was about to shatter from here. The towering ancient tree thrived massively. The roots of the tree dangled and reached Desolate soul. The life soul tree. It was the massive ancient tree Shuryan used to see on Desolate continent. That tree was rooted deep into Desolate with so many branches and leaves. This tree was actually the most famous divine weapon of Absolute Beginning Era. As soon as this Absolute Beginning divine weapons emerged, the entire cloud mist territory began to shatter. The territory barriers fractured like a smashed mirror. The creatures living in cloud mist territory were about to be exposed. Desolate's tiny wisp of soul swelled rapidly as his energy rocketed. The soul energy, like a vast sea, entered Audrey's soul altar. Shortly after, half of Desolate soul energy had crossed spaces to get here. As soon as Ziyao saw the wrong situation, she didn't have time and efforts to care about living beings in cloud mist territory anymore. Her 12 separated heavenly snakes gathered into one body. At this moment, she sat neatly on the crystal throne above the host snake's head. Her body looked like she was made of 7-colored divine lights. Each second, millions of rainbow bands bloomed from her. Han Tian, Hero, and Montesi discolored in fear. From what Ziyao had told them, they understood that Desolate was an invincible expert. However, when they finally saw his deeds, they knew that they had underestimated this god of war. He had just sent a wisp of a soul to Audrey's body, and he could be that fierce. If his real body came, who could resist him in this vast universe? Moreover, they understood that Desolate wasn't his strongest self at this moment. Only after merging all the soul clones and body parts, Desolate would become the absolute beginning god of war at his peak condition. Thus, in this era, what existence could subdue him? They were correct. In this era, no one wanted to see Devour get all of his parts back together. Devour hiding in Devouring Clan's holy land didn't want it. Sauron, who was watching the absolute beginning gateway, was another one. Desolate had crossed so many spaces. Wherever his soul glided through, he had shaken the entire world. Sauron, who had always kept an eye on the commotions of the Sea of Stars, immediately knew what Desolate wanted to do. He couldn't help but join this battle. After Devour had slaughtered empty land and the Sea of Annihilation, he recovered greatly. Almost at the same time, he had urged his power to stop Desolate's last fusion, just like what Sauron was doing. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.